the field goal. It'll be Jason Chingel out of the hold of Mesco. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and a pleasant good Tuesday morning. Here we are, everybody, on Valentine's Day. Casey McAllister, Paul Fritchner, nice to see your smiling faces. I'm sure big plans for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, of course.
Casey, what are your plans for Valentine's Day?
So my fiance is actually cooking us dinner. It's kind of a little bit of a reversal, but I'm going to treat her something really nice before dinner.
Very nice.
And,
you know what you're having? You have the menu planned out, that kind of thing?
steak.
Nice.
Ooh,
I just built the grill yesterday. I got a grill for Christmas, and I finally had a nice day outside, had free time. I put it all together. Yeah, it's all ready to go now. I'm going to cook some steaks on the grill, and
There we go.
have some salad and some cheesecake.
There you go.
Cheesecake.
Great
There
stuff.
you go. Paulie, how about you?
Creighton and Providence play tonight, so we got a huge date ahead of us.
Oh, my God.
Let's go, Tom.
I'm sure she's thrilled about that. Welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Thom Brennaman. We come your way Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. You can join us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We always ask, if you would, please subscribe to the program. You can also find us streaming on Facebook. That's on the Chatterbox Sports page. Just flip the notification switch on if you would. And if you'd prefer to join us in podcast form, search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman and you're dialed in. We're going to be talking about it today with Tim McGee. Lots of people still talking about the Super Bowl. There's no doubt it was exciting, and a lot of the drama was taken out of a potential thrilling finish after that holding penalty. But it was fun to watch. And by the way, did you see how many people watched? Numbers came out yesterday. 113 million people. That makes it the third highest rated television show ever. Ever. And by the way, the top 2 rated TV shows of all time, also Super Bowls. Number 1, the 2015 game between New England and Seattle drew 114 million, followed closely by the 2017 Super Bowl between New England and Atlanta. This year's game was slightly ahead of last year's game between the Bengals and the Rams. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. Of the top 100 highest rated TV shows in the United States last year, 82 of the 100 were college or pro football games. College hoops, couple of big ones in the Big 12. They're all big in the Big 12. Every night it seems like. Texas Tech chops down number 6 Texas, 74-67. Number 9 Baylor continuing to roll, beating up West Virginia in Waco, 79-67. And number 15 Miami beat North Carolina in Chapel Hill, 80-72. Tonight in the MAC, Miami plays at Toledo. Buffalo is in A-Town to take on The Ohio University. And baseball officially begins today. Pitchers and catchers report for the Reds out in Goodyear, Arizona, with the first workout starting tomorrow. The full squad reports. That's this coming Monday, and the games will begin on the 25th. All right, boys, we got Tim McGee coming up at 10:30. We got the Tracer, who is back, Tracy Jones, best 30 minutes in television, coming up at 11:30. I know you guys hung out with Reed here the last number of days, who did a phenomenal job sitting in here on Off the Bench. What were your thoughts of the Super Bowl and the victorious Kansas City Chiefs?
I'll go first, just so that we can get the ridiculousness out of the way.
Ridiculousness. Okay.
Yeah. I guess
Big
that's
word
what
right out of the gate. That's multiple syllables.
That is what the audience of our show has. I think that's what they would dub my take, and I think that's what Reed would say as well. It's just ridiculous. But I really didn't think that this was a standout game for Patrick Mahomes, and more just about the team, the Chiefs in general. And I thought the game proved my point that Patrick Mahomes is kind of lucky. They got a really crazy, random fumble for a scoop and score. That's just I don't know how to even put that in words. There's no skill involved in that. It just was luck that Hurts fumbled the ball, and then they're down 14-24, which at that point the Eagles were driving down the field. If you take away that touchdown, it's 7 to maybe 21, or not 21. It would be 7 to what's 24 plus 7? I don't know.
That'd be 31.
31.
We'll do math in public. No math in public.
No public
Oh,
math
show.
around this show.
A whole different ball game, though. A whole different ball game.
Did you just use the word luck describing the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, would you not consider that fumble lucky for a scoop and score?
It's part of football. Is every fumble lucky? Is every interception lucky?
Well, it's not like he got stripped. It wasn't like there was any skill involved. The guy was scrambling, and the field was terrible, so he stumbles a little bit, and then the ball comes out without anyone touching him. So I feel like that's kind of lucky.
The Bengals had that with Mahomes, right? That happened in the AFC Championship game where he just fumbled the snap. Were the Bengals lucky?
I don't know about that. But regardless, the rest of the game, I thought the Eagles dominated on offense. Their defense was heavily overestimated. They just could not stop Mahomes. They couldn't get any pressure on him. He had all day to throw. And when he didn't have all day to throw, they were running the ball down their throat. That front seven looked miserable. And the Eagles' defense they just couldn't do anything to stop them. And the 2 touchdowns, they at the second half were just too easy. Mahomes had to do nothing except run the play and then throw like a 5-yard flat route or an out route or whatever you want to call it, and he just
let it out, Casey.
Mahomes didn't have to do hardly anything. He was set up on the 5-yard line. The red zone touchdowns were too easy. The only thing, and I said this on the show yesterday, there's only 2 things he did that were significant to that ball game.
You talking about Patrick Mahomes, the winner now of 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. That's the he.
Yeah, and apparently an MVP.
The last 4, forgive me.
And apparently an MVP of the Super Bowl, which I would rather actually give it to Kadarius Toney. He kind of went under the radar on this one. But regardless, he had 2 plays, which is the first touchdown to Travis Kelce. That was a really nice back shoulder throw for Travis Kelce in the end zone. And then the 25-yard run.
Pretty impressive.
Scramble.
Pretty impressive. Bum ankle. Come on.
For someone that has a bum ankle. Yeah, that's really impressive. He's outrunning guys. Wow. That really must be hurting.
I cannot believe the way you chop down Patrick Mahomes. This cat is 27 years old. He's won 2 Super Bowls. I asked Paul today. Let me ask you live, Casey, okay? And we'll ask all of you in the chat right now, okay? Now, don't look it up. Let's just have a little fun here, okay? We know that Tom Brady has won 7 Super Bowls, right?
Yes.
Most of all time. We know that Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw are tied for the second most all time with 4. Then you have Troy Aikman with 3.
Yeah.
Okay? How many can you name? So we're giving you Patrick Mahomes. That's a layup. Okay? There are 8 others that have won 2 Super Bowls.
Just 2.
Yeah.
Just 2.
Yeah. I can
How many can you name?
Eli Manning.
Okay.
That's 1.
I got 4.
Peyton Manning.
Yep. There's 2.
Local guy. I did not get this one. The local guy.
Went to college right up the road.
Went to college right up the road.
20 minutes from here.
What age? What?
Just retired last year.
Just retired last year. Come on,
Big
Casey.
Ben.
Big
There
Ben.
you go.
All right, there you go. Now, the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you got to go back a little ways.
I only got one of these.
Current
owner.
Current owner. Oh, yeah, Elway.
There we go.
John Elway.
Is there any other?
The other one has a serious Cincinnati connection. Grew up in Cincinnati. Purcell Marion High School. Naval Academy.
What team?
The Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, is it? I mean, it's not Aikman, so it's Staubach. Staubach, yeah.
Yeah, Roger Staubach.
And then last one?
And then you have Jim Plunkett with the Raiders.
Yeah.
You have Bob Greasy with the Dolphins, and you have Bart Starr with the Green Bay Packers. So the question becomes, wait, let's back up. We'll stop. Paul, your thoughts. Was it a lucky Super Bowl win for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs?
I shared a lot of my thoughts yesterday. I didn't think it was lucky. What I was disappointed in was how the game ended. And I said this yesterday. I was talking about it during the game that I felt like it was one of the better Super Bowls. We've been lucky to have we have been fortunate to have a lot of very good Super Bowls over the last decade. If you think back to the Patriots where they came back 28-3, you think back to the Patriots and the Seahawks game was a good game. There have been some very good Super Bowls, just kind of as a neutral observer of the last decade or so. But I thought this one might have been the best Super Bowl of our lifetime, or at least of my lifetime, that I could remember, of just being not caring who won, just watching the game, scoring in the mid-30s, and then it just got yanked out from under you with that holding call at the very end again. It's a shame that it ended the way it did.
Yep.
I don't know if one team necessarily deserved to win the game. Like a lot of times you say in that narrative, oh, so-and-so deserved to win the game, but they didn't win it. So another team made the plays. I don't even think that was the case. I think this was just a back-and-forth game, and it was a shame that the field came into play too. Between the officiating at the end and then the field, the guys slipping, it felt like the pass rush on both sides had trouble just getting their footing, which is the point I made yesterday. We were talking about whether, would the Bengals have won this game? Look at what happened in Buffalo when some of those guys had trouble with their footing in the Bills pass rush in the snow. So, yeah, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was a great game. Just kind of a bummer the way it ended.
It's interesting when you talk about the field. I was thinking about this, and I said this watching the game on Sunday. NFL's in a little bit of a dilemma here. You've got the Players Association that clearly wants to get rid of this particular brand of turf, fake turf, because they say it's really bad for the players, right? Leading to injuries, all this kind of thing, okay? But then you start experimenting around with, in a place like Arizona, where the weather is spectacular. It's not as spectacular as everybody thinks it is in Arizona in the winter. I lived there for 14 years. You get a lot of sunshine, but you get a lot of 50-degree days and that kind of stuff. Now last week was just incredible, okay? Incredible. Every day, 70, 72, 75. But then yesterday, when we're getting on the plane to come back, it's raining and it's 50. So you get a lot of those days. And they're saying that is a big reason why, because of the winter they've had out there this year, a little more rain than normal, that, this experimentation with the grass, and for those of you, you've seen it before, in Arizona, the field, the playing field sits on a rail system. And so they move the field outside the stadium so it can get sunshine and all that kind of thing. And then right before the game, a couple days before the game, they'll, roll it back in there. But this year they're fooling around with the turf. It clearly had an impact on the game. I'm not saying that it had anything to do with one team winning and the other team losing. They both played on the same field, so it was even for everybody. But you don't want to see on the biggest stage, in the biggest game in sports in the United States of America, being the Super Bowl, You don't want to see field conditions having anything to do with the play, the style of play, the effectiveness of play, hindering the style of play. You don't want to see any of that kind of thing. So that's number one. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do moving forward, the league, because you have players so against some of this artificial turf that's out there. Not the old days of the AstroTurf, but the stuff they're using now in a lot of places. So that's number one. Number two, did anybody with Philadelphia watch the AFC Championship game on punting the ball? I mean, look, I give the coaches all the credit in the world. I know I couldn't do it. It's above my pay scale. I'm not smart enough to be in any of those rooms, okay? But I do know this from having been around it. These guys, and if you even read the story of Kansas City, I mean, you talk about, did you read some of the detail stuff that they did for their players leading up to this game? They had dress rehearsals of America the Beautiful, the national anthem, the every single pregame activity imaginable. They walked through every single second of what it was going to be like because they had so many new players on the Chiefs team that had never played in a Super Bowl. Longer halftime show, the amount of time you're on the field and have to be there compared to a normal Sunday. I mean, it was one of the most unbelievable things I have ever read, the way Andy Reid and his staff had this team prepared for every single thing imaginable that they were going to deal with before a game that they have never experienced before, most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. The only reason I bring this up is because you would think with all of the thousands or hundreds of hours they're putting in over the last 2 weeks to get ready for this game, that with 3 or 4 minutes left in the game and Philadelphia is forced to punt, the two biggest plays in the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl were when they punted to Tony and he ran the big run back to set up the game-winning score. I mean, look, I'd love to get Darren Simmons on here one day. Good guy, knows what he's doing, whole 9 yards. But I'd love to just ask him. And we asked Brian Billick about it, and he said a lot of times, there's miscommunication. You're telling your coverage team we're going to punt to this sideline. We send everybody there. Now, in Tony's case, it was over near the sideline. He shifted direction, had the big run back the other way. But why are you even taking the chance of letting the guy return the ball? Right?
Right.
I mean, you mean to tell me that a punter can't kick the ball out of bounds 40 yards, 45 yards, hell, 35 yards down the field? Kick it out of bounds. Don't let the guy have the chance to run it back. That return set up the game-winning score. What was that, a 65-yard return?
In both games,
yeah,
too.
It's the longest punt return in Super Bowl history.
Right. I mean, for the life of me, it's one of those, the forest for the trees kind of thing, where you're sitting there going, this game is not too fast, it's not too big, it's not too, above everybody on the sideline. They are qualified, they know what they're doing, they're good at their jobs, they're great at their jobs. They're coaching in the National Football League. But for the life of me, I just cannot understand why you would ever take the chance. I'd rather Patrick Mahomes, which he's capable of doing, he's done it 1,000 times already, I'd rather see him march his team down the field and beat me that way than taking over inside the 5 or 10 yard line, whatever it is. And that's what happened.
Yeah. I will say the Bengals case was more of just a talent issue. I don't know if it was necessarily an awareness issue. We had issues with punting all season long. But if I can remember correctly, I'm pretty sure someone on the Fox broadcast said that the Eagles, they needed to really worry about something. It would be their special teams, and it would be the punter. And lo and behold, the punter makes a big error. You can't do that. You can't do that against Kadarius Toney. So I mean, yeah, I mean that now I think after this the people will probably start kicking it out of bounds if Toney's on the field. But yeah, it was that was the big play. I thought the other big play, besides the fumble, and the thing that ruined the game for most was just the penalty. But other than that, I thought the game was great. I don't know. I thought a lot of people have dubbed this one of the better Super Bowls in recent memory. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. I know that it had all the makings of a great one. It had a good comeback, lots of scoring, lots of different types of touchdowns, deep throws, short ones, running the ball, quarterback power, all that sort of thing. It was a great Super Bowl. And regardless of how I felt about the game, it still stands that, it was one of the highest viewed, one of the best Super Bowls.
Did you wear green watching that game?
I actually wore my Joe Burrow jersey.
That's a true fan right there.
I was rooting for Joe.
How about Patrick Mahomes' dad?
What about him?
What about
Did
him?
you see the interview with him after the game? Pat Mahomes Sr., former Major League pitcher, lighting up the cigar, and he brought up Joe Burrow again.
Man, they just can't
We'll
get
let
him
it
out of
go.
his mind.
We'll let it go.
Still haunt them.
Think Chiefs and Bengals play on Thursday night to open the season?
I think that'd be a great call. I saw where ESPN today, and there are others that have put out their way too early power rankings and all that kind of thing, and some of the big casinos have come out on the odds for the Super Bowl champ next year. Bengals in most of those that I've seen anyway, rank in the top 3, 4, 5, right there, right? You got Kansas City, you got Philly, you got San Francisco, you got the Bengals in Buffalo. With Dallas on the outside looking in.
San Francisco is always going to just be right there. Always.
Well, they have a big decision to make on what they're going to do with quarterback. I mean, you got Purdy coming all the way back, right, from the elbow.
Yeah.
I mean, and guys come back from that. I mean, if he were smart, he'd have Tim Kremchek do that thing right here in Cincinnati. I mean, him and James Andrews are the two best guys on the planet. That's who I would have do mine if I were coming back from Tommy John, without a doubt. Kremchek right down the road at Beacon. He's considered in baseball circles the best at getting it done, but I'm sure they'll have somebody out in San Francisco do it. And then they got Trey Lance coming back. But we're not here to talk about the 49ers because nobody cares about the 49ers. Before we get to Tim McGee, Paul, what happened to your Xavier Musketeers over the weekend?
Oh,
my son's sitting there telling me, my mother-in-law, we were out visiting her in Arizona over the weekend, which, by the way, Everett, among others, want to know, how was the Waste Management Open? It was unbelievable.
Well, let's talk about that after Tim McGee.
We will. And I got some video that I'll send to you, Casey, and we can pop it up.
Yeah, because Tim's gonna be on here in about 4 or 5 minutes. So we got to spend longer than 4 or 5 minutes on the.
All right. Well, tell me about the Xavier Musketeers.
Oh, it was just a stinker. It was a disaster. Butler, in my mind, is the second worst team in the Big East, ahead of Georgetown, and that was just a disaster on the road. To your point, Tom. Tough to win on the road in college basketball.
It is.
And you know what's funny is I run a Monday night, myself and Rick Broering, who's on the show on Friday. We run a it's a Twitter space for anybody that knows Twitter spaces. We run one of those on Monday nights, and we had somebody from Butler on last night. I did not realize how big of a rivalry Butler treats Xavier. They chant Xavier sucks at every game, not just when they play Xavier.
Wow.
I had no appreciation because I was at the game and I heard him cheer, and I was like, I wonder if they just, insert opponent here and they just know how to do that. No, it's every game. So it was a fun experience. I go to that game every year. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy being at those away games and stuff. And
I've always wanted to go. I still have not been to Henkel.
It's good. I mean, a lot of people have strong opinions about it one way or the other. Some people say it's a dump. Some people say it's got a lot of history. If you like the movie Hoosiers, then you probably appreciate it. If you don't care, then you probably just think it's an old building. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. If you sit up in the bleachers, it is kind of rough because, there's no backs and you're just sitting there crammed in with a million other people. But, yeah, it's fine. It's a cool Indiana venue, but I don't really have any love for it one way or the other. But yeah, it was a stinker of a game, and now Creighton's got the inside track to the Big East. Huge game tonight. Creighton and Providence in the Big East.
And that's how you're spending your Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. Well, what other way would you want to spend your Valentine's Day? Creighton and Providence, that's top of the list.
Well, we're going to talk to the Tracer about that because I think if there was ever a guy, there are a lot of theories out there, conspiracy theorists. None of you are any of those, right? That basically Hallmark and the card companies came up with this idea of Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Are you a believer in that theory?
Well, yeah, but sometimes you gotta lean into it, right?
Well, you better lean into it.
Yeah.
However, watching Providence and who?
Creighton, baby.
Creighton tonight. I'm not quite sure that's exactly leaning into it. Might be leaning into something, but I'm not sure about that. But anyway, the Tracer, I'm sure, will have some thoughts for both of you.
I'm sure he will.
And knowing Tracer, he might be on Paul's side on this deal. Watching a college hoops game, hanging out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Paul really loves. He loves
Right.
watching basketball.
That's what I'm saying.
By the way, is this grill of yours, is this charcoal or is this gas?
It's gas.
It is. Okay. You got it hooked up to a gas line or you just have a propane tank?
Propane tank.
Okay. All right. So this will be the christening of that.
Yes. This will be the first
Wow.
time, first use. So, excited. Tom, before we get to Tim McGee, I want to just circle back a little bit back to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I just have one question for you.
Yes.
If the Bengals played the Eagles, would they have won that Super Bowl?
You know what? I don't know. I just, again, you get into all the things that we talk about leading up to these games. And clearly the biggest storyline, maybe even more so than it was in this one because of the Bengals situation. Who would have been back on the offensive line? I don't know. We don't know. We're never going to know. I don't know if, Williams would have been back. Capel would have been back. No clue. If neither one or one of the two were back, it would have been the huge story about the Eagles' pass rush versus the Bengals' wounded offensive line, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, it just goes to show you, and we're going to talk with Tim McGee about this. We're going to talk about this with Jay Morrison come Thursday. And we were talking about it off the air. The Bengals have huge decisions to make on what they're going to do with this offensive line. Because if there is ever Exhibit A, you just talked about a little while ago, Patrick Mahomes had all day to throw against a Philadelphia defense that led the planet in sacks this year, 70. They had 4 guys with 10 or more sacks. And I mean, they did not sniff Mahomes. And it just goes to show you, you can have all the big stars at the skill positions, and Lord knows no one has more of them than the Bengals have right now. And all the talk about Burrow's contract and Chase's contract and Higgins' contract. But you know what? I mean, the Chiefs proved, Tyreek Hill walks out the door. A lot of their money going to Mahomes, a lot of their money going to Kelsey, but a ton of cash going into that offensive line. I don't know how the Bengals, to answer your question, I don't know how would they have fared better against that Philly front? They wouldn't have fared better. Do I think that Joe Burrow would have gone the entire game with what we saw from that offensive line in the championship game against Kansas City? I think he'd have been sacked half a dozen times. They weren't very good. They played one good game in Buffalo with all the new guys. They did a great job in Buffalo. Weather was bad. Paul alluded to it earlier. Snow on the ground. I mean, that is Exhibit A on how you build a championship team around a championship caliber quarterback. So for all the people out there that are fawning all over, and rightfully so, and I saw where Solomon Wilcots came out on his podcast over the weekend and talked about, the Bengals need to sign Burrow, Chase, and Higgins and keep those guys together. I think there are plenty of Smith-Schusters, Kadarius Tonys. I think there are a lot of those guys out there that play receiver. that you got to bite the bullet on one of those guys being gone, Higgins or Chase, if you have to do it. And I don't know that they have to do it. But if you're forced to make the decision of going out and getting Orlando Brown to come in here and play left tackle, as opposed to keeping one of those two wide receivers or letting one of them walk, I'm letting one of them walk.
Well, Reed, we made this point yesterday on the show. Everett brought up a point in the chat. Did the Chiefs lay out the blueprint that you just go all in and have the most dominant offensive line in the league, and you have one really good, high-quality target, and that's the formula for success. And you just stack the offensive line, and if you can get two supremely talented tackles, do you let your wide receivers besides Chase, do you just build around Chase and say he's our guy?
Well, it's kind of like the Chiefs. They build around Kelsey.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
when it comes down to Higgins and Boyd, and everybody talks about how good they are and the best wide receiving crew and the best wide receiver room in the league, do you let them go and then you just build the offensive line and you follow what the Chiefs did? It's a copycat league.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And look, Steve Ross brings up a good point. No team can withstand the loss of 3 starting offensive linemen. You are spot on, Steve. That was bad luck for the Bengals. There's no doubt about that. Great point. Paul, Everett, offensive line, man. Offensive line. And look at the way they ran the ball when they did run it. That Pacheco, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another thing. You know, you talk about what the Bengals are going to do with Mixon or Pirine or wherever it might be. Man, to have a guy like that, how does a guy like that last to the 7th round of the NFL draft? When you watch that dude run, he's so fast, he's so powerful, he plays with incredible passion and fire. I mean, and Mixon has all those things, passion and fire. He's been a good teammate for a long, long time. But, I mean, it wasn't like this guy was like, you know, playing at in the WAC. I mean, he played in the Big Ten, played at Rutgers. So there were a lot of people that had a chance to lay eyeballs on this dude, even if you were going to scout Ohio State play Rutgers, right?
Right.
And you're watching 12 Ohio State guys. Well, there's a chance this cat might stand out. You know, are you going to watch Michigan or Penn State or somebody else? Which, by the way, speaking of the Big Ten, our thoughts and prayers. As a parent, you can't imagine. Well, you can imagine a lot of things. Sending your son or daughter off to college and what happened at Michigan State in East Lansing last night. So sad. And our thoughts and prayers to all those. And those parents who send your kids to college and you think it's some safe place and that happens. You know, somebody else brings up the fact that, and this was an interesting article written last week, and I want to ask Tim about this, is that, you know, about how the play calling and more accurate, the play scheming of Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid, these guys. You know, it seems like every time you turn around, their receivers are wide open.
Right.
And how many times did we see this year the Bengals when you've got Boyd, Higgins, Chase, and 2 of the 3 don't catch a pass in the first 2 quarters of a game or catch one the last 2 minutes, right?
Right.
For 9 yards. And yet every time you turn around, there was a great article written in The Athletic about, and the title of the article is, why is Travis Kelce so wide open all the time? Because doesn't it seem like that? That every time he catches a ball, there isn't somebody within 7 or 8 yards of that dude?
Right.
Yeah. That's what it felt like in the Super Bowl. It felt like every time Patrick Mahomes was throwing downfield, he was throwing to a wide open Travis Kelce, at least in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about scheme. It's all about play calling. One day when we have time, or maybe I'll do it myself, I'm going to do a full breakdown of dependent and independent positions on a team. What would you consider a dependent position? Your receivers, running backs. Those are guys that depend on a quarterback, an offensive line, a coach. And the coaches, quarterback, offensive line, those are all independent positions. They play to their skill level, and if they play well enough, the other dependent positions thrive. The Chiefs figured that out, and they have got a team. And let's talk about this for just a second. They've gotten to the championship game 5 times in a row, the Super Bowl 3 times in a row in just a span of 5 years. And it's all based on those principles: play calling, quarterback play, offensive line.
And play scheming.
And play scheming. Everything else is just extra. It's just a little cherry on top. And it does help that they've got a Hall of Fame tight end. But I won't be surprised if when Travis Kelce does decide to walk away that they're still not super effective. As long as they have Andy Reid and they've got Patrick Mahomes, I think those two together are going to be on top of the league for a very long time.
It's hard to understand what the deal is with Eric Bieniemy in regard to getting a head coaching job. And I know there's some out there that certainly would say his race has something to do with that. And that's a whole different topic for another time. But there is something that clearly is not what someone's looking for. And I'm gonna try to take the race part out of it for a second here. I just sit there and I look at, Philadelphia's offensive coordinator, right? Just named the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts today. Will be introduced later this afternoon. Their defensive coordinator is in the final 2. They're going to meet again today, along with Lou Anarumo. Those are the 2 finalists for the head coaching job with the Arizona Cardinals. But with all of the openings and the vacancies that have been out there, and I'm talking about the last, 2-3 years, something is there with Eric Bieniemy that just doesn't make sense. Smart, been around a Super Bowl winning team now twice as the offensive coordinator. I don't know if people are saying that's more Andy Reid than Eric Bieniemy. I'm not in that meeting room. I don't know. We're never going to know because you're not going to have players come out and say, oh, it's all Andy Reid or it's all Eric Bieniemy because they don't want to take a shot at the other guy. But, man, it's just hard to figure how in the world Eric Bieniemy is not getting not even down to the final. I mean, when this Super Bowl ended, he's going out and interviewing for offensive coordinator jobs somewhere else. Washington, right?
Yeah.
What? Right.
There has been a part of me that wonders if Bieniemy is sticking around in Kansas City for whenever Andy Reid retires.
Well, there's probably that. That's a legitimate point. Although, you heard Andy Reid after the game. I mean,
like sometimes
I don't know what's he going to do.
Well, sometimes
He's not going anywhere.
I have no idea, and this Bieniemy story has been going on for so long about where he's going to go and what team he's going to take over someday. Maybe there's just a part of him that's happy with Andy Reid. He likes his job. He's got a great setup in Kansas City. He knows he could be the heir apparent whenever Andy Reid wants to retire.
Andy's only 64 years old. I mean, you're looking at guys that are still coaching, like Pete Carroll's 71, Belichick is 70. So we might still have this guy for as long as I can see Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes together throughout their entire careers, the rest of their careers, and then not letting them split up.
Yeah,
I can see that happening.
But maybe Bieniemy just. I have no idea. Maybe he's not. Maybe he is pissed off that he hasn't gotten another job, and then that's a whole other conversation. But maybe he's just content.
Well, which begs the question. I mean, you know what? I've always admired guys who have that mindset, who say to themselves, okay, wait a minute. So stop and think about it for a second. Outside of maybe the money, and I don't know, okay, outside of maybe the money, that's not even a lateral move going from offensive coordinator in Kansas City to Washington, right?
Yeah, no.
Right.
I mean, they don't have a quarterback there. At least if you stay in Kansas City, all right, if you're not being interviewed for any other head coaching jobs, if you're talking about just remaining an offensive coordinator, and maybe Eric Bieniemy feels like he needs to get out of that Andy Reid shadow and be able to be his quote-unquote own man, if you will, because there are always people that are going to lump him in with Andy Reid, right? So maybe that's what he's thinking. I don't know. But it just seems to me that unless Eric Bieniemy were to go to Buffalo or to come to Cincinnati as an offensive coordinator or go to the Chargers, where you have a quarterback that has a chance to go out there, Philadelphia, right, has a chance to go out there and win you a Super Bowl and show off all your skills as a schemer and a play caller and all those other kinds of things, why would you leave, to your point, Paul, Kansas City? Why would you leave? I'm going to throw it to the Ham and Eggers before we get Tim McGee.
Okay.
Gentlemen, take it away.
Let's go. All right, Casey.
Paul.
Let's talk about a couple of things here.
We've been talking a lot about the Bengals here.
We have been talking a lot about the Bengals. Fire it up there on the screen, Casey. We've been talking about the Bengals, and the Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and productivity. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. And also right here, have it in front of us, Pawnee Water, P-A-H-H-N-I. It is a new premium alkaline water, and it is right here for all of you. I don't know, is it in? Did we hear about their deal?
We have not yet got an answer from Thom on that deal.
On the UDF deal? Okay. Made in Hamilton, Ohio, Pawnee uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also the best tasting water in the world. Visit their website at pawneewater.com. That is P-A-H-H-N-I water.com, P-A-H-H-N-I water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Bet with Betfred. Get your coffee from UDF. Drink Pawnee Water. Go to encore.tech.
And stay tuned for Not Too Picky later today.
Also Not Too Picky with Reed Mouse coming up as soon as this show is over. We will be doing college basketball today, and then we'll have Mike Schmaltz on Thursday. Box Lunch will be back tomorrow. Yeah, we got a lineup here, and then we have go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm trying to think. We have hopefully Tim McGee today, Tracy Jones at 11:30, and then we have Jay Morrison is on Thursday. Tracy Jones will be back on Thursday, and that's our setup for the week. I haven't talked too much about tomorrow yet, what tomorrow looks like. So NASCAR picks for Daytona will be coming on Thursday. I promise you, Mouse Cop. Daytona, Thursday, 12 p.m. You will get all of your Daytona wants and needs. It will be there. Mike is ready for you, Mouse Cop. I'm speaking directly to the camera. Mike Schmaltz, ready, Daytona. I've already prepped him on it. I think that's about it. No Tim McGee yet, Thom, just so you know.
And the one thing I will actually just promote for a second, we post a whole slate of picks pretty much every day of the week on Not Too Picky on Twitter.
Yep.
You guys should go follow that. We've been doing pretty well. We've been doing well. We've been doing well. So please follow that. Join us.
The Discord too. We haven't put the Discord link up in a while, so I can post that. Have not put the Discord link in the chat. Yeah, Discord.
Discord.
Let me put that in the chat. There we go. All right. Well,
I sent Tim a text. I don't know. I'm waiting to hear back. He told me last night that he was good.
Okay. I'm trying to think of anything else from the Super Bowl we covered. Oh, Thom, halftime show? What'd you think? All the people wanted your thoughts.
Well, let me back up. What I did not know, did you know this? Did you know the NFL has never paid a halftime entertainment a single penny?
I did know that.
And they incur all the cost, whoever it is. But I mean, think of the eyeballs, right? $113 million I mean, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, right? You're not going to get those kind of eyeballs on anything you do. Not as an actor, an actress, entertainer. So, you get asked to do it. To begin with, Rihanna is a complete hypocrite. Okay? She went on television 3 years ago during the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, said she would never watch a game again and would never perform at halftime. She turned it down in 2019. Turned it down in support of Colin Kaepernick. She's entitled to that. That's what she believes. God bless her. Okay? But now here she shows up. Now 3 years later, 4 years later, whatever it is. Okay? So that's number one. And all of us are hypocrites from time to time. So it's not to sit here and make a judgment that we aren't. And we know we are. But I just got to thinking to myself, and look, I know that my son was going crazy. He thought it was awesome. He's like, these are just the classics. And of course, every generation has their feelings on what the classics and the great ones are. And I knew a number of those songs just because of my kids growing up and listening to her a little bit. The whole setting was unbelievable, right? I mean, with the things.
I'd be scared to death.
Platforms and all that. Mm-hmm. It was really cool. It was really cool. But I mean, there was no in past years, whether they've had, and I'm showing my age here, but I mean, when they've had U2 or the Rolling Stones, or they've had Springsteen, or they've had, some of these guys, the places, Maroon 5, where they've got it going on. They got it happening. They got it jumping. There was none of that going on for this
thing. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having my point.
That's so funny.
Am I right? You guys feel differently?
That's how I felt.
I mean, was there anything that had people wanting to get up and really start moving around and all that? I didn't think so. And believe me, I'm a music guy. And I like all kinds of different music. But I mean, Paul, I suppose you were probably dancing in your den or whatever it might be.
I did enjoy it a lot. I did think she played all the hits. I did enjoy it. It's funny. It's just funny because yesterday we were talking about it on the show with Reed, and I was saying how I don't like when the bands perform, and Casey goes, "No, I love the bands." And so now, here we go.
And for somebody here, I did not suggest for a second that Maroon 5 is better than Rihanna. I have no idea. I mean, it's all in your taste buds, right? Right? But they had more people bouncing around a little bit because that's just more their style of music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
All right.
I mean,
just needed a thought.
There's a difference between liking their music, listening to it in your earbuds while you're walking down the street, and then watching the halftime show. That's all I'm trying to say. I like Rihanna's music. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, didn't she pretty much, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my son said this to me. She pretty much stuck to one album that's like 4 years old, right?
Well,
by and large.
Well, she was also pregnant, so I'm wondering how much she had to change the show for mobility. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I can appreciate, everybody can appreciate that.
Like she is very much a performer, and
no doubt.
That did feel like a tamed down performance. So I'm wondering if when she realized she was pregnant that she had to say, hey, whoa, hold on. Let's scale it back here a little bit.
Yeah, I was reading this will be her second child in a year.
Yeah, because that
was a little more than a year.
Yeah.
She had a baby, I think, last May. I read.
Last May,
yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, because everybody was saying, again, that quick? So,
yeah. I mean, she looks great.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
She looks great. She's a big-time entertainer, no doubt about that.
Who's your halftime pick next year? We did this yesterday, so we need yours. Who's your halftime?
I'd have to think about that a little bit. You're throwing me on the spot on this deal.
I am throwing you on the spot.
I'd have to think about it a little bit. I'm gonna bring it back to somebody a little more old school. I'm gonna bring it back.
Okay.
I might have one more go since, they're on the verge. They're up in their almost 80s now. I might have one more go at it with the Rolling Stones.
I don't know about that one. But
I mean, you got to have Mick and Keith Richards and the boys and one more whack at it. Ronnie Wood, come on. Now, you talk about music that would get that place jumping. They'd have it going on.
Let's get Hootie and the Blowfish up there.
Hey, nothing wrong with those guys. They played at the Elder Pit, right?
They did.
Yeah, somebody says the Ohio Players. They got some big league songs, the Ohio Players. Metallica says purchasing GSS. All right. All right. Well, I don't know. They'll, yeah, Sir Boy Wonder says, I want the Ohio Players. Well, I'll tell you one thing. They'd have a few people. Oh, God, Post Malone. Don't even get me started. Oh, my God.
Not a big Posty guy, Tom?
Oh, God, come on.
Ah.
Come on. Seriously.
Jolly Jolly with the Foo Fighters.
That would be a good one.
Jolly Jolly. How was the
He
Super
was in
Bowl?
one of those commercials.
Yeah, who?
One of the guys from the Foo Fighters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, really?
The big name guy. He's the big guy. Come on. So help me out here, Jolly Jolly.
I didn't see the commercial.
Yeah. What about Garth Brooks?
Oh, I said Garth yesterday.
What's wrong with Garth Brooks?
Nothing.
What's wrong with Luke Bryan?
I like Luke Bryan.
All right. What's wrong with those two guys?
They would never get a country guy.
And how good was Stapleton on the national? Did you see, by the way, the timing on? Did you guys talk about this yesterday?
We didn't talk about it, but I did see it. Yeah, 202.
And it was 201 point what? 999.
Yeah, by a tenth of a second or whatever. Went under. Yeah. What was Luke's pick on that?
On what?
The time of the national anthem.
He did. I don't know. I don't
give
know.
a pick?
Yeah. Yeah, Dave Grohl. That's who it was. Right. That's who it was. He was in one of the big commercials.
Dave Grohl grew up 5 minutes from my house back in Virginia.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting, dude. Now, the player formerly known as Mouse Cop says, as a Luke Bryan fan, no way in heck should he ever get the chance for the Super Bowl. Why?
I think he's probably worried that it mars his reputation. That would be my guess.
How would that mar his reputation?
Because
the Super Bowl, Luke Bryan?
Because now it's more of a performance, and there's like a big, like, I don't know, like every Super Bowl since I can remember, there's been like platforms and a lot of moving around.
Yeah, he's not like the
dancing.
big theatrical guy.
Okay,
yeah, country
fair enough.
singers aren't big theatric guys.
Okay.
They just sing.
Well, Garth's a big thing. I mean, Garth's moving
Garth would
around.
do a
He's
heck
got a
of
lot
a show.
happening.
Yeah.
Garth's a pretty good show. I mean, he's a big leaguer. He would be good.
Dua Lipa. Get her out there.
Who?
Dua Lipa.
Oh, no, Tom.
No.
You're going to break Reed's heart. Who?
Dua Lipa?
Oh, boy. Here we go. Teaching Tom. You're about to learn on the fly, Tom. Dua Lipa. You're in for a treat.
Well, I see her picture here. She's a blonde in one picture. She is a brunette in another. A British Albanian singer and songwriter. Disco pop. Is it that boom, 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 the crap I heard in Arizona all weekend?
You were clubbing this weekend, Tom?
No, but I'm telling you, that Waste Management Open.
All right, let's talk about it.
I mean to tell you. Okay, so we go out Thursday, and Jim Nance talked a little bit about out in Arizona. They have these men's groups, and they started years ago, primarily charitable organizations that do a lot of different work for different charities all over the valley. But they have sort of morphed into through the years. They're the ones that put on spring training. So like the Hohokams, which is an old Indian name, Indian tribe out there, they run the Cubs spring training out in Mesa. And the Hohokams are based out of Mesa. There's another group out of Scottsdale, Phoenix, called the Thunderbirds. They are the ones that put on the Phoenix Open. Okay, back when it used to be at Phoenix Country Club, then they moved up to TPC Scottsdale. These guys literally are staying in hotels, even though they live right down the road. They're staying in the hotels the entire week. They're working from 5 o'clock in the morning until 12:30 at night, and they're doing it all again the next day. And these are regular professionals, lawyers, doctors, accountants, whatever they may be. Very successful guys. So a good friend of mine is a member of the Thunderbirds. So he got us passes, and I'll send you some video here that we'll put on after another commercial break, of the 16th hole, the most famous hole, right, most raucous hole in all of golf. It's an enclosed stadium, and I mean completely enclosed. A long oval, more along the lines of, I'm not even going to call it a horseshoe because there's no open end. You saw it on television. I mean, it's one of the most unbelievable things you've ever seen. The revenue from the 16th hole alone, okay, this buddy of mine was sharing with me, and he was a chairman of this tournament 5 years ago. The last time they had the same weekend, the Waste Management Open along with the Super Bowl in Phoenix. 5 years ago, the revenue from that tournament, 5 years ago, was $50 million. The 16th hole alone for this year's Waste Management Open, just the revenue from the 16th hole, because they have 3 levels of skyboxes that go from behind all the way down the sides, all the way wrapping around at the end where the green is. The revenue for the 16th hole alone this year was $51 million. One hole. We're sitting there, and I mean, you just can't believe it. We're sitting there on the ground level in this guy's, the Thunderbirds little box they had down there, and it's no more than, I mean, it's half the size of the studio, and they're all right next to each other.
Were you behind the green or behind the tee box?
We were right next to the tee box. I'll show you. I got some video of McElroy teeing off right in front of us. So all of a sudden my son says, "Hey, Dad, take a look to your right." I turn to my right. Mike Vrabel. Buckeye. Vrabel. Stand there hanging out. Look over to my left. Devin Booker. Christian McCaffrey. Tony Gonzalez. Right behind the tee box sits Dave Portnoy. You ought to see this. You ought to see the security around that dude. Dave Portnoy. But, I mean, everywhere you turned around at that 16th hole, it was somebody who was bigger and bigger and bigger than the next one. It was mind-boggling. All those people out for the Super Bowl, coming to the golf tournament, saw big leaguer Jim Nantz walking around.
Did you talk to him at all?
No. Didn't get close enough to talk to him.
I mean, you kidding? The big leaguer like Thom?
Ex-professional. That
They should be coming to him.
Ex-professional, I think, was your quote, Casey. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody says Kenny Chesney. No, I went and saw him last summer. Total dud.
You know, at
Total
Riverbend,
dud.
Did you see him at Riverbend?
No, we saw him in Columbus.
Oh, because I saw him at Riverbend. I thought he was a dud too, and I was looking forward to it.
I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
Total dud.
Yeah. So you were behind the tee box on what, Saturday?
Saturday was there pretty much all day long on 16, hanging out right there. Friday was on 18, right where you right where they finish up. And I'll send video here in a minute. We can put some of that stuff up. You just can't believe it, and it's unlike any other tournament in the world. I mean, there is music going on. The people watching, the outfits. I mean, it's like there's the regular guy out there who lives in Phoenix, who's a golf fan, who's in his 30s or 40s or 50s or 70s, walking around and checking everything out, watching golf. And then there's there's like a nightclub crowd. I just can't believe you have to see it to believe it. The way this 16th hole is set up, because 15, it's a par 5, and if you're on the backside, on the outside of the 16th, sort of, rounded off stadium-like thing, you can watch these golfers come up. Everything's quiet, just like at a normal golf tournament. And then all of a sudden they walk off the 15th green, and they walk into this tunnel. And I got a great picture of Lou standing there, and you'll see the signage above it. The most exciting hole in golf. And it's like you're walking into an arena to walk in to 16. And the second these guys come walking out, and everybody can see who's coming in. Now, in fairness, and this is what we talked about with Paul Daugherty last week, I got to tell you, outside of, you guys fill in the blank. With the Live guys not being there, and nobody was more popular out there than Phil Mickelson. Arizona State guy, lived there, fans love him, he loves the fans, I can only imagine what it would be like if he came walking through that door, or Tiger Woods came walking through that door, or DeChambeau comes through that door, right? Right? Now, I got to tell you, Jason Day seems like a good dude, lives up in Columbus, right? Married a girl from up there, lives there, good dude. Scott Scheffler, awesome guy, phenomenal player, best player in the world, no juice. Nothing. I don't see it. Jordan Spieth, good player, no juice. That sport is missing protagonist, antagonist. They're missing it. You got to have that to be successful. You got to have the protagonist and you got to have the antagonist. And golf does not have an antagonist. At least those right now, they are all playing on the Live Tour. Takes away from the sport.
Yeah, I watched on, got to be honest, I did watch on Saturday, Tom. I watched for about, a little while, because I was trying to see, I'll be honest, I was trying to see if I could find you in the crowd, because I knew you were there and I knew you were sitting in a box, and I kept looking and they kept turning the camera angle around. But then I realized I didn't know at what point in the hole you were there.
I'm not that much of a big leaguer.
There were 17,000 people around that hole. I don't know what to make of the state of golf. I'm just not a big enough. I enjoy watching it on Sundays, but I don't sit there on Thursday afternoons and turn on.
Right.
I'm not going to watch the Genesis Open until Sunday at 1 o'clock, right? 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, like that. Then we'll turn on golf. But I don't know how much I think about the state of golf, because everybody really, it's a one-player sport right now with Tiger. And now look, hold on. Before people get on me for how well Scotty's been playing, Jordan Spieth's been playing, Rory's been putting the PGA Tour on his back with everybody going to Live. Look, I understand it. I get it. I follow it. But as far as the juice, you don't get anything like what you get with Tiger. And Tiger's washed up. So now golf has to restructure itself and find another one. And now in the last couple of years, they've been trying to do it's like a restructuring. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. They have these players like Scotty. How many times in a row did Scotty win last year? And he wins the Masters, hasn't won since. I like golf, and I think I'm trying to think of guys.
Now Rahm's got a little juice to him.
Rahm does,
yeah, and he's an Arizona State guy.
And somebody in the chat will help me out. Everett, yes, Max Homa. This is exactly what I was thinking of. Max Homa, great personality, great with the media, does a fantastic interview. When Max talks, I listen. I think he's awesome. I listen to tons of interviews that Max does. I think he's great for the sport. I don't think golf's necessarily in a bad spot. I think the culture's just shifting. I think you're going from a sport where Tiger dominated the sport for 2 decades, and now you're getting these new fresh faces in. I don't think it's necessarily in a bad spot. It's just different. That's all. Change is good.
Casey, I'm sending you some of this video.
Yep, I'm sending it to myself right now.
All right.
John Daly.
Gosh, I thought I had a better I got one here of 18 that you got to see as well. This is pretty cool.
Okay. 18? Were you there? Wait, what did you do once? Did you go to the Super Bowl?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not.
I didn't think so.
Cannot afford that. That's big league cashola that they're looking for the Super Bowl. They said the tickets were coming down, though, the day before the game. And the weather was unbelievable. It's really weird. And I lived in Arizona, as I said, for a long time. My son and I were talking about this, how when you live out there, whether they're in the mountain time zone, so half the year, and Arizona doesn't change time. right?
Yeah.
So half the year, they're 3 hours behind us. The other half of the year, including right now, they're 2 hours behind us. So here, Super Bowl is starting at 6:30, 7 o'clock. There it's 4:30 in the afternoon. By the time the game's over, you feel like you can go, kind of still do something at night if you want to. It's over by 7:30, 7:45. You go out to dinner after that. Same thing during the NFL season. When the games are starting at 4 here, they're starting at 1 there. So, the games start at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's there's pros and cons to both. If you're a college basketball fan like Luke, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
Right? Those 10p games on here, they're starting at 8 there.
Yeah.
So he had on the, what was the big upset? Arizona, I think, lost this weekend,
To
didn't
Stanford,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, that game on in my mother-in-law's house.
Yeah.
And anyway, who else here? Baltimore. What are they doing?
Todd Monken got hired. He's a Georgia guy, so that's why Trace was talking about it. Offensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator.
For the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, Todd
right?
Monken. Yep.
Okay. I don't know what happened to Tim. I hope he's all right. He's normally very dependable here. And we got the Tracer coming up in about 25 minutes. But when we get a chance, we'll put up some of this video. Tiger, by the way, is playing this week.
Yeah, he's back. Genesis Open.
He should have come back for
Could you imagine what it would
Phoenix.
look? Yeah.
Should have come back for that. That would have been big time, having him back. Yes, Everett wants to know if Marty's going to be on tomorrow. So, Everett, get ready. We'll have to ask him a few questions from you about Dumbledore.
Fumbledore.
All right, what else we got here today, boys, we want to talk about?
Was that it from your trip? Was there anything else?
There was nothing else big. No.
Okay.
It was a great trip. Got to see family. My wife is born and raised out there, and so her dad lives out there. Got to see him. Her mom's out there. Got to see her. So it was very much a family-oriented trip.
Well, there is one thing that we could talk about. It's going back to the Super Bowl a little bit. Have you listened to this clip at all, Thom?
Let's hear it.
This right here.
All right, so you're centered on what part of that?
The part where he said to Chris Jones, this is the NFL owner, Goodell, and he says, "I don't care how you hit the quarterback," to Chris Jones. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that is centered on, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that is centered on that story that leaked out that the league was going to consider eliminating that tackle from behind, which is how Mahomes injured his ankle to start with. And Chris Jones, among many, many other players in the NFL, came out and said, "You got to be kidding me. I mean, you're chasing a guy from behind, and you lunge forward to wrap him up around the waist, and because you fall on top of him, he turns his ankle or twists his knee or whatever it might be, and people are like, that's never going to happen. Never going to happen." I think that's what he meant. Did you take it differently?
I mean, I did because, I mean, you just can't say that to any player because it can be taken out of context, which it might be taken out of context. But when you say you don't care how you hit a quarterback, like, he doesn't care if you just cream him. He doesn't care if you hit him with the head. He doesn't care if you drop your body weight, whatever the case is. He doesn't care. You could spin his words, and it's just a really bad look, if you ask me. He just won the Super Bowl. He's all buddy-buddy. He's being lifted up in the air with Chris Jones, and he's celebrating with him like he's a fan. when he's supposed to be the most neutral, unbiased person in the league. And then he says, I don't care how you hit the quarterback. I don't know. It's just a really bad look in my opinion. But I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it, if any.
Yeah, it's an avoidable bad look is how I kind of look at it. It's an avoidable thing for Goodell where you could stay away from it. And for all the criticism that Goodell endures forever, and a lot of it very deserved, this is one of those things where you just got to know that the cameras are always on you. And I wouldn't read too much into it in depth. It's just on the surface level, it looks bad. And
don't you think don't you think at the end of the day he's just a fan and he always gets booed and all that kind of stuff, and he's having a moment with a player and jacking around?
No, see, I agree with that. The point is the public doesn't see it that way. And
well, I think the public only sees it depending on how the media portrays it and talking heads talk. It's like the Bradshaw line to Andy Reid and the word choice and waddle on over here.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Are we living in a place? Well, the answer is yes. Are we living in a time where we're going to all of a sudden make a big deal? It's Terry Bradshaw. The guy's half crazy, admittedly so. Andy Reid jokes about his weight all the time. I've been in meetings with him when he talks about it. Are we really at a point where every single thing, the Bradshaw thing, I couldn't believe the gingers out there getting all worked up about that.
Tired.
Seriously.
Yeah, no,
he knows Andy Reid very, very well. And he knows that Andy Reid is probably totally okay with that kind of that's just two guys that have been around each other for a long, long time. There was no ill intent. Bradshaw even said himself, I'm a big, heavy guy. I'm waddling around. Good Lord. Oh, there's some stuff to make a big deal about, but golly day. Man. If we had a camera filming every single person, every single thing they do, it would be a world that no one would ever want to be around or ever want to live in.
All right, we got the pictures here.
I'm still trying to get 2 other videos.
Oh, Tim McGee just sent. He had someone try to break into his house. So we get it. That's wow. Okay. Hope he's all right. I'm assuming he is. But every single person would be fired, or at least they would be portrayed as being some evil, spirited, mean person out there. No. 9 times out of 10, that stuff is all just joking around, and that's all it was with Terry Bradshaw the other day, with Andy Reid. And those people who made fun of or got worked up about that, they have got to get a life. Seriously. Oh.
Yeah.
It makes me crazy. We're shooting down UFOs.
It's been a wild week in that.
Oh, boy. No kidding.
I did see a story that they said that the UFO that they shot down, or the thing that they said that came from China, that they shot that down, and then the government, or not the government, whoever it is, the military's radar system, they expanded it to pick up other like low speed, low flying objects, and now they're just finding all these things.
Shoot them all down.
Shoot them all down.
Come in our airspace, shoot them down. Sir Boy Wonder says, no time for snowflakes.
Man, this is a high-level operation you got going on here, Tom.
What's that?
Hot damn.
What's that?
These videos you sent.
I know. It's big league.
This is bigger than big league.
Yeah. We got them ready to go?
I'm getting the last 2 videos.
Okay.
Not even all the big league guys get into this. My goodness. You're living the life.
Believe me, these could have been shot by anybody. Outside of the 16th hole where we were in a pretty sweet place. But, one of those tiny little – I was asking my buddy, I said, how much is the smallest – what's the least expensive skybox? And they're not boxes. They're just, a little rail in between. You got maybe 25 tickets maybe in there. It's not anything huge. And then there's the next one, and the next one, and the next one. 3 decks all the way down, all the way around.
Okay, I've got
all right, this is this one you're about to see. This is where we are sitting on 16. We're basically to the left of the tee box, and this is looking straight down towards the green. So this is like this little stadium I was talking about. This is one hole.
That's crazy.
There's my bride and our son, Lukey, just hanging out. Okay. So there's one of them. That gives you an idea.
And here's another, I
All right,
think,
now
look
this
at it.
is, we got stuck behind a cacti here. I believe this is Rory McIlroy teeing off. So the guys come up. The second they hit the ball, right, if you land on the green, they'll cheer for you. If your ball hits the green and rolls off the green, you get booed out of the stadium. It's unbelievable to hear the boos. So that was Rory McIlroy's group. This is what I was talking about. Okay, it's our son Luke. Welcome to the loudest hole on earth. So you walk off the 15th green, and this is what that opening at the end of the tunnel down there is where you walk out onto that scene. It's pretty cool.
That's
right?
pretty cool.
I mean, it's like being in the tunnel at, Ohio State or Michigan or somewhere like that when you're running out on the field. But no fights like Michigan. Okay, this next one is 18, okay? This is a skybox, and this is looking down. They're coming towards you, and this is a finishing hole at number 18. How about that setup?
Wow.
And then this is the outside of 16. So that's the 15th green right there where that tower is. And then when you're walking into that mini stadium, 3 decks worth on the number 16. That's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Saw it once. Sir Boy Wonder. Thom Brennaman greater than Jeff Bezos. Yeah.
God, that's awesome, though, Thom.
Yeah, it's really cool. It really is an amazing experience. If you're a big golf fan, then, if that's your thing, then go then go check it out sometime.
Have you ever played that course?
Yeah, a long time ago. My buddy said it best. He said they start setting up. I asked him, I said, so when did they start setting up all that 16th hole? He said they start in September, and they are right up against it to finish it by the second weekend of February. They tear it all down. It'll all be gone in a month. And he said it best. He said, it's really one of the most boring golf courses to play in the world. It's flat. There's nothing to it. There are a lot of other incredible golf courses. And it's a nice place, don't get me wrong. The whole setup there, the hotel and all that kind of thing. And they make it nice because they have the big high-end resort hotel there, the Princess it's called. But they also have right there on the grounds, they have a Holiday Inn. It's a nice-looking Holiday Inn. It's a beautiful Holiday Inn, but it's a Holiday Inn. So, if you went out there in the summer, you could go play that. Now, it's the summer, and it's Phoenix, and it's 105 degrees. But if you want to go out there and play that course in June, you could play that course for $80.
Yeah, I was out there in July, and they had the course closed the week I was out there. But I was out there, and I was going to try and play it, and it was – it was like maybe $100 after tax.
Yeah, if even that. If you're going out twilight, you're going out at 5:30, 6:30, and believe me, it's still 105, 110 at 6:30
Oh, it's
at
miserably
night.
hot.
Yeah, I mean, but you'll get a twilight rate. A lot of those, some of the nicest courses in the United States, you'll be able to go out and play, 9 or 15, whatever you can get in, for $40, $35. I mean, that's just the nature of the quote-unquote beast, because I was there for 14 summers.
But then they put that stadium up, and you try and get out there in like November, $300.
Yeah.
$325, $350, middle of the day, kind of a tea time. Yeah, they'll jack it up.
Jolly wants to know, how many beers did you slam? I didn't go to the Bird's Nest. That's the big concert they have every night. So every night of the week, you've got the tournament during the day, and you can buy a ticket, even if you don't go to the golf. You can buy a ticket to what's called the Bird's Nest. It's a big concert. So like one night it was Jason Aldean, and another night it was, somebody you would know, somebody like that.
Chainsmokers.
They were the last night.
Yep.
Chainsmokers, yes. And so I did not go to the Bird's Nest this year. Machine Gun Kelly was there.
Fresh off his breakup with Megan Fox. Oof. Big news.
Ooh. No, but Machine Gun, my buddy told me, he said, because he has to go. Again, one of these Thunderbirds, and he was telling me, he said, I've got to go to the thing at night. He said, I was really excited about Jason Aldean. He said, there was somebody else. He said, now Machine Gun Kelly, he said, I wouldn't know that guy if in a room of two he walked in the room. Said, don't know any of his music. Don't know anything about the guy besides Megan Fox.
Yeah.
He says, had to go to the event, and he said it was unbelievable. So the guy's quite the entertainer. Right?
Bet. Yeah.
And then Chainsmokers, I didn't get a chance to see him on Sunday because he was racing off. Jim Nance was doing a little Q&A with the Thunderbirds and thanking them for all their work and the tournament and so on and so forth. So I didn't get to see my buddy on Sunday. We only went out there for a little while. Machine Gun Kelly. You know him, Casey?
Yeah, a little bit.
You listen to him much? Is he like a DJ or is he like a singer?
Oh, he's a performer. He's
a rapper. Yeah.
Rapper?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Casey's style.
Not really, but I can listen to some Wild Boy.
I bet you can't, Casey.
Lots of folks chiming in. Big nope on Machine Gun Kelly. Eric says he's a diva. Is that true or false?
MGK? Yeah, I don't know, Tom. I don't follow him all that closely. If you can't tell.
They say he's pop punk now. Now, I might like that because I used to love punk rock.
You a big Blink-182 guy?
No, but I used to like a lot of the punk rock bands back in the day. Yeah, back in the day. All right, let's take a break.
All right.
Ham and Eggers, take it away, and we've got the Tracer coming up shortly.
All right.
Jets.
Thank you.
President, take it away.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great, trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Well, the one thing that I want to talk about, since we don't do this very often, but the one thing I really got to talk about is how badly, I'm on a 6-day losing streak. I've been red for 6 days in a row, almost 7.
In gambling?
Sports betting, yeah.
I talked about this yesterday. I am responsibly retired from sports betting for the foreseeable future. Now, that is not to say that I am going to give picks or do anything like that. Now, I know I always say I don't like giving picks that I don't bet on, but I'm also doing a gambling show, so I can't just stop doing that. But the car payments and everything else, we gotta scale things back from the winnings we had in the month of January.
Well, on our slate, I've been very hot on props.
You have, and you hit last night.
I hit last night again, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, I'm betting those, but I'm betting all this other crap. I'm like, what? Why don't I just focus on the props, and just put all my money on props, and I bet you I'd do a lot better, do a whole lot better.
The NBA hasn't been treating you kindly, Casey.
Well, I add in some add in some of the not too picky stuff, and I add in a lot of like.
You're saying that we're giving losers.
No. So what I'm saying is I just am too spread out. Whereas I could just focus on one or two things.
Your portfolio is too diverse.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to get it more.
Shooting with a shotgun, not a sniper.
Yeah, I need to be more like a sniper.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same way. Problem is my record really hasn't been all that bad. Like of the games of what I'm doing, it's the games that I've been more confident in that I've gone bigger on a unit size have done me in. So
yeah, that's the tough part. Is unit size, man.
Yeah,
it's tough.
You could That's right, Casey. That's right. You want to run a commercial here, Casey?
Yeah, we'll run a quick commercial.
We'll run a quick run, and we'll come back with Tracy. We have Tracy Jones in here, and it has been a long time since we have talked to our good friend Tracy Jones, Tom.
Yeah, we've been worried about the old boy.
Got a lot to catch up on.
Been worried about it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I can't think of a better guy to here we are on Valentine's Day, Tracer.
Well, let me just start
Happy
off.
Valentine's Day to you. Are you doing all right today? First of all, let's start. Is
I'm
everything
doing
okay?
all right. What the hell is the matter with you people? You vacation like the French. You guys are always on vacation at Chatterbox. It started with Casey, and Paul's got a vacation, and now you're doing it, Tom. Come on, can we work? Let me write this down. Write this down. You got a pen?
No, but I'll put it in my phone. Go ahead.
90, I always say, 90% of success is just showing up. That's
Okay.
what I say. Now, you understand that?
Got it.
So we have to grind it out every single day,
Okay.
not take vacations, and let's make sure this thing works, okay? So can we do that? Casey, you agree with that, or you got another vacation planned?
No vacations planned. All I have planned is my wedding coming up in June and a honeymoon shortly after. But that's it. That's about it.
What are you guys doing for Valentine's Day?
Well, that's where we were going, Tracer. I want you to
Yeah.
hear the difference between these two young men, basically in the same generation, basically.
Sure.
And let's start with Casey. Casey, who is getting married in June. Tonight you are doing...
So tonight, my fiance is going to be cooking us dinner, a steak dinner, and I'm going to be setting the stage, setting the mood, going to be getting her a few gifts and some flowers, and we're going to just enjoy each other and have a really nice dinner.
Any thoughts on that, Tracer? Him setting the mood.
I think that's a horrible date night. I think that's just no thought whatsoever. Listen, if you're going to go to a restaurant, I mean, you want to pull some wool tonight, take her to Walt's Hitching Post. I was there on Saturday, had the best dinner. I actually went by myself. I'm so comfortable in my own skin that I can go to the top restaurant in Cincinnati in the tri-state and sit there by myself and had a wonderful dinner. That's where Danae and I are going. We're going to Walt's Hitching Post tonight. You don't want to stay home. Right? Tom, are you staying home?
I am. We've just been out of town, and our son's got lots of catching up to do at school. We had him out of school for a few days to go out and visit his grandparents in Arizona. So, we're going to be on the home front. But, Casey, you left that part out about you setting the mood, whatever that means. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I'm in charge of getting the house the appropriate mood and setting.
Ambiance.
I mean, it can't just, the ambiance. I can't just leave it the way it is right now. It's
Okay. All right. So that's your Valentine's Day night with your bride-to-be.
Yep.
Then there is Paul. Paul, would you care to share with Tracy what you're doing on Valentine's night?
Tracy, there's a massive Big East match of Providence and Creighton tonight, so you know exactly where I'm going to be.
Yeah. Well, here's the difference with Paul. That relationship is not going to work, right? Because he's going to the Taylor Swift concert. He's gonna get some girls' numbers. And I gotta ask you, Paul, your wife Lizzie, right? Her cousin is cutting your hair, right?
Her cousin, yes, her cousin.
Okay. Well, here's the problem with that.
Who's led around by a dog most of the time, I might add.
Yeah, she's doing such a bad job. She wants you to look like a Pinky Blinders guy, like Thom says, so you don't pick up any girls. That's the problem. Do you understand? She's setting you up. With that haircut, like I say, no wool for you tonight.
No, certainly not. Well, not during Creighton and Providence,
You know what? That's a really interesting point Tracy made about – I did bring up the Peaky Blinders thing, but it's very interesting when you take that the next step that her cousin is the one responsible for your hairstyle.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, did they confer with one another on this thing before you guys cut?
Yes, they do.
Oh, it's all a setup. It's all a setup. But that's okay. I like it. I'm in on it. I'm in on the deal. I know what I'm getting myself into.
All right, so you're going to be watching Big East basketball. She's on board with that?
Well, she better be.
Yeah, see, Tracer, I thought that you would say that's probably a healthy relationship. Instead of putting in a lot of the hard work like Casey is, for example, right? I mean, you were the guy that said you never took Danae on a honeymoon, for crying out loud. Right? Okay, now Paul, it seems to me that, he's kind of setting the groundwork and setting the table for, she knows exactly what she's getting into in years to come. Hey, Valentine's Day, great, but we got a big-time college basketball game on tonight.
Right, but Paul's not in it for the long haul, Thom. There's a big difference. I mean, this has got how many more months? 4 more months before they call it quits. They've been dating for 5 years. If you don't put a ring on it after 5 years, I mean, it took me 7 years to marry Danae, but finally she earned the right to marry a big league baseball player. But 5 years, that is not going to work, so why spend the money and the effort whining and dining this Lizzie girl?
Instead, you know what? Just watch some basketball.
Tracer, did you watch the Super Bowl? Where were you for the Super Bowl?
I was at my
Your
place.
Kansas City Chiefs, by the way, you declared months ago that's your team.
Great game. I tell you what bothers me on a serious note. I don't like that every time it comes down to the referees. Every big play, I'm starting to look for the flag. At least in baseball, when there's a home run, it's a home run, right? You can't take it back. That was not holding. But just a couple observations. The national anthem. So we now have a white national anthem, a black national anthem. What about the Latinos? When are they going to get their national anthem? And I'll tell you what, you're probably thinking, what about the Asians? Well, we'll deal with them after they stop sending these balloons over our country. Then we'll get them a national anthem.
It's a legitimate point. No doubt about it. But you did watch the Super Bowl and you enjoyed it.
I did. I was by myself. Well, Tucker was with me. Danae was out doing whatever she does in Los Angeles. I don't know how much longer that's going to last. It'll be my 3rd marriage coming up, probably. Thank God for my prenup.
Well, you catch up with my dad.
Yeah. Don't doubt it. He's a lot happier that 3rd time around. See, every time you'll get a divorce, Casey, you'll know this because you'll be on your 1st, but the 2nd, and I'm sure the 3rd time you get a divorce, you'll be happy. But I was watching the game with my little dog Tucker, all by ourselves, had leftovers from Walt's hitching post from Saturday, great mac and cheese, all that stuff. Really enjoyed it. The only thing that bothered me, and I was very concerned, and if I had tickets, I probably would have not attended the game. And the reason is that all women fly over that was like playing Russian roulette. I thought extremely dangerous. And thank God they had the women spread out a little bit. Those fighter pilots, you know they were all women, Tom. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I had no idea.
Yes, all women flyover, which was really dangerous.
Were they all from nearby Luke Air Force Base out there? Is that where
I
that
don't know.
group was
I know.
from?
I knew it was an all-woman crew. I did see that, but I didn't see where they were from. No.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't know that either. I mean, I was just watching it on TV, but we were out running around right up before kickoff. I thought that Chris Stapleton did a great job on the national anthem. I think the guys got a little.
Did you get a little choked up?
I did. How about that? What were your thoughts? I'm curious of this. What were your thoughts of the Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni? There were tears streaming down his face during the national anthem. I can only imagine, and I haven't heard if he was asked about it. He had to be asked about it, right?
Yeah.
That it's like the culmination of all these thousands and thousands of hours that you've poured into your life trying to get to this moment in time. And it's a national anthem for the Super Bowl, and you're the head coach in the Super Bowl, right?
I got choked up.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I know you guys probably think I'm some hard, SOB, but I actually have a big heart. And when I see the coach crying, and Tom, he's really crying.
Yeah.
I mean, they're streaming down. I mean, it gives me goosebumps just to talk about it. But, Stapleton was outstanding. And I really enjoy, the Cardi, the halftime show, it's a little too edgy for me, Tom. I don't like that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm old school. It's just, there's kids watching. I don't think we need to be grabbing our crotch. But what does grabbing your crotch do? Kids are watching this. It's just stupid stuff. I mean, you disagree with me, or do the young guys
No,
think it's
I'm
really
with you all
cool?
the way. I just don't get it. I mean, why can't you just go out there? You're known as a musician. She's
Right.
obviously very, very popular. Why can't you just go out there and do your thing, right? And your thing is to be an entertainer. And it doesn't mean
Right.
you have to stand there and do those kinds of things. I'm with you all the way, because there are, of any event, it's the most watched event. It's the third highest television rated show in the history of television in the United States of America.
And speaking of that, see, I come prepared. I'm
Okay.
not, when I go on vacation, I'm still working, right? I go to Florida, I'm still working. I go to Mexico, I'm still working. Santa Barbara, I'm still working. And by the way, 2 weeks from now, I'll be in Santa Barbara again. But here, it's time for a vacation. But it's a working vacation, not like you French. Okay, each player, the Kansas City Chiefs, what do you think they want as far as money? What do you think they were awarded?
Well, I don't think it's
Per
any,
share.
I know it's nowhere close to the baseball cut. So I'm guessing, 100 and something thousand maybe? That's a straight guess. I have no idea.
Yeah, 157,000. I think this
Okay.
is interesting because I would have thought it'd been a lot more. I thought you'd double it to 300. Like you said, the third most watched broadcast ever, something like that.
Yeah.
Here's the deal: 157,000 federal tax and state, $58,090. FICA, $12,011. That's Social Security and Medicare. I know those two ham and eggers over there have no idea what I'm talking about. And then the jock tax. And Tom, I don't know if you're familiar with this. Certain cities
Yes.
tax.
I'm very
entertainment,
familiar. I got the same
Right?
thing when I was working, right?
Oh, so
Right.
you do. 3,925. So that really only leaves you 82,975. That's not that much for the Super Bowl. Do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, especially when you consider it I think the baseball cut's now up over what? Now, there's double the amount of players on a
I know.
football team. But I'm
Right.
saying, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the share of a player winning the World Series is up over like 350, 400,000 now, right?
I thought they hit 400,000 this
They
year.
might have. They
I
might
couldn't-
have.
I couldn't believe it.
I mean, that amount of money, I remember, and teams are really weird. They're different in this regard. Some people may know this, some may not. But as players, you guys sit around and you decide who's going to get a full share, meaning if it's $400,000, you'll sit around and say, okay, the players will be in a room, and they'll say, okay, what about our media relations director, the guy who's handled everything with the media for every player on this team the whole year long? And we'll say, okay, give him a full share. All right, what about the trainer? Yep, full share, full share, full share. Okay. And then you start going through some other people. that are involved with the strength and conditioning coach and all this kind of thing. And then some people get voted a half a share, a quarter share, whatever it might be. That money for, let's say, a trainer. Now, trainers are paid well, but they're not paid like players are paid. That's life-changing money for those guys. We had a guy in Arizona who was the assistant trainer, and back in those days, I think the share was, maybe $175,000, whatever it was. He was able to go out and buy his mom and his special needs sister a house on that money.
It's a big deal, and those guys really are important to the ball club. Like you talked about the strength guy, the trainer. I'll tell you a story, and maybe I shouldn't tell this story, but I will anyway. And I wasn't on the team, but the story goes when I played for the Tigers, we're talking about when the Tigers won the World Series. And we had a lousy traveling secretary. And Tom, you know how important it is to have a really cool traveling secretary to help you out, make sure your wife has a good seat, your girlfriend has a good seat, and they don't sit next to each other. So it's really important there. But so they were voting shares, and Lance Parrish, you remember badass Lance Parrish, right?
Yep.
Lance was a very good player. So he was the catcher of the Tigers. So they win the World Series, and he stood up and said, if anybody votes Brownie a full share, I'll kick your ass. In fact, if anybody gives Brownie any type of share, I'll kick your ass. That's how much that guy was disliked in Detroit. He was a terrible traveling secretary.
Wow. Because you're right. That I mean, really at the end of the day, now the trainers, they take care of you medically, the strength guys, but as far as just the day-to-day sort of nuts and bolts of a player being on the road, the traveling secretary, I mean, is way up here. That's a big-time job. Big-time job.
Way up there.
Gary Wayhoff has done it beautifully for the Reds forever and a day.
The best.
Totally on his game. Golly day. For that guy not to be given a full share, he must really be disliked.
Really bad. Well, we were flying commercial, actually, with the Tigers.
That's not his fault.
Yeah, I know, but it just, we didn't have very good travel arrangements with the Tigers. In 1986, we finished in second place. And Tom, it applies as far as teams winning the pennant, second place, third place, you vote on shares. In 1986, I only had 86 at bats. I was on the disabled list for the whole year, and the players were so mad that they had to vote me a full share, kind of tongue-in-cheek, because I didn't play. All I did was, I was hurt all the time, and they had to give me a full share. Then we had another player in 86 who had a really good year, and I'm not going to name names, and he was not voted a full share. Half the players say vote him a full share, and his best friends on the team says, hell no, vote him 3/4 share. And that guy, after they voted him 3/4, he didn't get the full share. He came in that locker room and was so mad he was ready to fight. And that's a true story.
Well, why wouldn't they have voted him a full share if he was a big contributor to the team?
I don't know. But there were two guys that voted him no. And I thought it was really weak because he was and you know him, Tom, a really good player, very good hitter.
Today is the day, Tracer, that pitchers and catchers report for the Reds. We were at the airport yesterday. My wife, our son, and I were at the airport yesterday, and it was the busiest travel day in the history of the Phoenix Municipal Airport. There were people, I mean, everywhere. And so we're sitting there waiting to get on a plane, and all of a sudden feel a tap on my shoulder, turn around. Nick Kroll, general manager of the Reds, right, who by all accounts most people think really knows what he's doing, certainly hamstrung by what he can and can't do, limitations with a salary, et cetera, et cetera. But pitchers and catchers reporting today. Does that have a little extra bounce in your step for you being a baseball guy?
You know what, Tom? When it was pitchers and catchers, I had to earn a spot on the ball club. So I did what they call a lot of eyewash, to false enthusiasm. So I would show up with the pitchers and catchers just to do a little brown nosing. I would kind of help out. I don't know if you know this, but Sparky Anderson really liked apples. So every day I would bring Sparky a green apple, like those granny apples. But yeah, it's important to go, hey, Thom, I do have some, and I'm kidding around a lot, but I do have something that we can throw out there that I think is really, really interesting. And it does involve the Reds. I was in Texas, and this is true. I know I make up, or I stretch some stories or make some stories up, but this is true. I was in Texas, and I talked to a guy who said that the Reds were offered $1 billion for the ball club. Okay, $1 billion for the ball club. Forbes ranked it as valued it at $1.2 billion. You start thinking about it. Would the Castellinis sell for $1 billion? And let me throw something out to you. Why do you get rid of Moustakas at $22 million? Why would you eat that salary? It's almost like you're getting rid of depreciating assets to improve the value of the club, and that's what you're doing with Moustakas. I thought that was a really strange move. It's tough, and this is not a hit on the Castellinis because I like the Castellinis, but it's tough making it in a small market group. $1 billion, but here's the catch. That guy who had offered to buy it would move it to Austin, Texas.
Well, there is no way on God's green earth that Major League Baseball is going to ever allow the Cincinnati Reds to be moved out of Cincinnati. Now, it might be some dude from Austin, Texas who buys a team one day if they decide to sell it. But there is no chance that the Reds will ever be moved out of Cincinnati.
And I agree, but here's the point. You can move Oakland. Oakland's got to move out of there.
Yeah,
that's a pitiful ballpark. I drove by it when I was going down the train. When I was on the train, a really bad place to play, bad ballpark. But what about maybe moving Oakland to Cincinnati? I mean, there's some possibility to talk about expansion. They're talking about what, two more teams?
Yep.
I mean, there's some places out there. I think Vegas is a good place for expansion. The fans that draw the most, the teams that draw the most in minor league baseball is Las Vegas. So I think that's a good fit. Maybe a Charlotte, a Nashville. And I never even thought about Austin because Austin is booming. But that rumor's out there. And I would not be surprised to see them maybe bring in another team to Cincinnati.
The Reds move and another team moves into Cincinnati?
I do.
I don't see it happen. I don't see it happen.
Well, remember, Thom, I see things that you people don't see. Right?
Hey, by the way, I ran into some dude on the plane last night. Did you get a text from some guy who used to be a big part of your radio show?
Yeah, he's actually Chris he told me he ran into you and you guys talked and everything. And that's what I was going to ask you about, Thom. What's it like to sit and coach? I mean, do you feel like after you sit and coach, you have to go home and take a shower?
I'm very comfortable back there, Tracy. Those are my kind of folks. I mean, I was very comfortable back there in the back of the bus, so to speak, row 33, which, I mean, you can't even count that high. You didn't even know there were 33 aisles on a plane.
No, and I have to ask you, when they closed that curtain, you didn't use our bathroom, did you?
The airline that I was on yesterday does not have first class.
Oh, well, I wouldn't fly that then. Yeah, but so did they give you a warm towel, Thom, for your hands?
No, they did not. In fact, it was an airline where even if you wanted a warm cup of coffee, you had to pay for it.
Then you're pushing it. Yeah, but he's a really good friend, and he says you were really nice to him.
Well, he was saying that he used to be on your show, or he had some family, I think, right, that used to be on your radio show and talking about Norwood, right? Didn't you used to have a buddy of yours from Norwood that used to come on the show, work for the school district or something like that?
No, that was Rod from Norwood. He had the No Frills daycare. And then at Christmas time, we would sell the Norwood spruce from his basement. Is that what we're talking about? I think that's my only buddy from Norwood.
Well, it didn't. I thought he said something along the lines of, did he work in the school cafeteria or something like that?
Well, if he said so, I don't think so. I don't think you were paying attention, Tom.
I
You
was
and
paying
Paul,
attention.
they
There was a
probably
lot going
playing
on. There were a
kissy
lot
face.
of, a lot of people. He was telling me all kinds of stories, kind of in a hurry. He was sitting a row in front of me, and so, I got to tell you, Tracer, I almost had one of those moments, and my son was mortified. Okay, so we're on the plane going out. Okay, we're on the plane going out. And we're sitting back in whatever it was, 29C. It's just looping.
33.
Whatever.
Right.
Okay, we're back. No, 33 was coming home, but this was going out to Arizona on Thursday night. Okay, and how there's always like the one guy who he never stops talking, and he's so loud all the time. I mean, literally does not take a breath. Okay, so as we're getting on the plane, he's turned around talking to this guy who's directly in front of me about all these different concerts and this kind of stuff and blah, 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 blah. So, fine. We get on the plane. I'm sitting like 5 rows behind it. Now, the plane is not full. Okay. So, I'm sitting next to my son. He's on the window. I'm in the aisle. We got an empty seat between us. Well, all of a sudden, I hear this voice again. And this guy is basically having a conversation with somebody that's 2 full rows behind him. And he's so loud that everybody on the plane is looking around like, well, I had finally heard enough, right? So I wave up to the guy. I'm like, hey, go sit next to him. Go sit next to each other. You guys can have your little conversation. He's like, oh, down. I'm like, yeah. Like for everybody, right? I mean, who does that? Who has a running conversation with somebody on a plane? You got people trying to sleep. You got people trying to work. Right. Whatever. Who does that? Or do you ever have that in first class? Does that ever happen?
No, we have what we have in first class is called our quiet voice. We talk very low. We don't yell. We just nice. We don't have, but Tom, I think that showed a lot of courage on your part to settle that guy down and shut him down. That really says a lot about you because it does take guts. Because one of these days, Tom, you keep doing it to the wrong guy, you'll get your ass kicked. So just know your role. Know your role. But it's very gutsy that you did that and spoke up. And so he was cool the rest of the flight?
Yeah, he was cool the rest of the way. Jolly, our buddy who just worked the Super Bowl out in out in Phoenix, he said, headphones, as soon as you hit the seat. Well, the irony is everybody's been on me around here about watching Breaking Bad. So I'm now 2 full seasons in.
Let's go, Tom.
I downloaded 5 episodes for the plane ride. Okay, so I already did have AirPods in. And I heard this guy better than I heard Bryan Cranston.
Walter White.
Right. Thank you. Did you watch all of Breaking Bad?
I've seen all of Breaking Bad.
Does it stay good or does it start to tail off like a lot of them?
I think it stays. I think it's pretty consistent. I think the last episode, well, I won't tell you the last episode, but yeah, I think it's good. I liked Ozark, by the way. We were going to give recommendations, and we need to write some of these things down. But I liked Ozark. There was a whole bunch that Mad Men, I like that. I'm more of a cerebral guy. I know Paulie and Casey, they have no idea. But I like the ones that make you think a little bit. Yeah, but you did finish, so you got 5 seasons.
Ozark's a big league show. But it's over now.
I know, but it's something you can watch.
And I saw where Peaky Blinders is going to have a movie.
Oh, really?
They're not having another season. They're going to have a movie.
Here it is, because I'm prepared. You guys just go and wing it. I prepare. I get notes. I made these notes. Here's some shows. I liked Bosch. Did you see Bosch?
Love that show.
I've
read all those books. One of the great authors out there. Great author.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about Handsmaid? What about Squid Game? What about What about Sons of Anarchy? You like
I watched. I love Sons of Anarchy. Yes, very, very good.
What about Dexter? It got a little too crazy at the end, but I like Dexter. Did you see Dexter, Tom?
No, I did not.
But
Do you guys know these other shows he's talking about?
I don't know Bosch, but I know Dexter.
Bosch is great.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like Narcos too. So those are my recommendations. And remember, I have good taste. I fly first class.
All right, Tracer. So enjoy your night tonight. So Danae's back in town. Big night over at Walt's Hitching Post. Is that right?
Yes, I'm going to get the Tracy Jones bone-in ribeye at Walt's Hitching Post. I mean, to have a steak named after you, how cool is that? And I got to just tell you one other thing. I had someone come over when I was just eating by myself, which shows a lot of confidence, right? Eating by yourself at a nice restaurant.
Table for one. That's your nickname, Table for One.
In fact, I have no friends either. My wife's gone. So this girl keeps looking at me. And I'm thinking, is she checking me out? And I'm just eating, and she keeps checking me out. And I'm like flashing my ring like, I'm a married guy. I'm 62 years old, right? What am I pulling? So finally, she starts walking over, and I'm getting all nervous. You know what she said? First thing out of her mouth, how's Thom doing?
I mean, can you blame her?
See? I mean, Thom, this show is exploding. Not real big fans of Casey and Paul. Thinks Casey's going to be a horrible husband, and Paulie, we're not sure what's going on with him.
Well, nobody is, so that's fair. Nobody knows. It's a wild card.
Well, Tracer, enjoy your night tonight. Tell Danae we said Happy Valentine's Day, and Happy Valentine's to you as well, Tracer. It's nice to have you back.
All right. Thanks, boys. You guys have a nice week. I'll be on Thursday.
We'll see you on Thursday.
Okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
11:30.
Go Friars.
There we go. Tracer. Tracer.
That's so weak. That's so weak. God, you'll never get a girlfriend. You'll never get a wife. You're selfish. You're self-centered. Thom, straighten that kid out.
He's watching college basketball tonight, Tracer. I got to give it up to the guy. I got to tell you. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on guys like me and you and to a lesser extent Casey. I mean, this guy, I'm pretty impressed.
So you got to give it up? I'll tell you one, Lizzie ain't giving it up. I'll talk to you guys on Thursday. See you, boys.
Good, Tracy. The best. Brought his A game after a week and a half absence.
It's good to have him back.
All right. Before we get to Not Too Picky, we have a cherry on top here.
All right, Not Too Picky. What are you picking now? Women's basketball? What are you doing?
Absolutely. Women's basketball has been a gold mine. We have college basketball tonight, and then we're going to have Daytona 500 picks and stuff on Thursday too.
I expect a full preview tomorrow. By the way, tomorrow we're going to be joined by the guy who was the director for the Super Bowl on Sunday. Rich Russo has been the director of the number one team on Fox NFL for 20 plus years, maybe. Been a director even longer than that, going all the way back. But this guy got his career started. He was a great lacrosse player at Penn State, but got his career started as like one of the low guys on the totem pole working for John Madden. Traveled all around the country for years with Madden. And so we'll talk to him about that. We'll talk to him about, what that job is like. You don't have to be always the guy in front of the camera. You can make an incredible living running the camera or being the director or the producer, whatever it might be. And Rich Russo is going to join us tomorrow to talk about that.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm as a broadcasting nerd myself, I'm very excited for this.
I am
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
In fact, Jake Jolly, who works with Rich Russo, they were just in the truck together. And I'll have to ask him about something here that Jolly just told me about something. Okay. With Greg Olson and Rich Russo that occurred over the weekend. Okay. All right, what do we got? Cherry on top.
So we talk a lot about, watching college basketball on
boy.
Valentine's Day. I love me some college basketball, but I'm not sure I would
Pete
get
and
married
Ellen
at
will
halftime
now
of the
exchange
game.
rings as a symbol of love and commitment to each other. It is the seal of the vows you have just taken to love each other without end. Now, please place the rings on each other's hands and repeat after me.
We can cut it off.
Cut it off.
As a sign of my love.
Right?
As a sign of my love.
This is a Mavs game last night.
That I have chosen you.
Halftime.
Above all else.
Above all else.
With this ring.
With this ring.
I thee wed.
I thee wed.
By the power vested in me and with 20,000 MFFLs as witnesses, it's my delight to declare you husband and wife. Reed, you may kiss the bride.
Reed.
Reed.
Look at that. Love is in the air, Thom.
Mavs fans, please welcome Reed and Ellen Malone. Congratulations to Reed and Ellen Malone, it sounded like.
Yeah.
You would do that at a Xavier game.
Yeah, you would.
Paul, come on.
No, I would not.
Yes, you would.
It's cheesy. I would not.
Actually, you know what he would do? He would be the one officiating it. He's perfect for the job.
I've seen some people talking in the chat.
I would say that Casey would do it in an NKU game, but he doesn't even know that NKU has a basketball team.
What? They have a basketball team.
There we go, Casey. Senior day on Sunday.
Reed Mouse wanted. He actually asked. He asked the folks at Wrigley if he could have his at Wrigley Field. He got turned down, having it as a venue. Paul, please. I know for sure and I know you could do it. You wouldn't get turned down by it. You would for sure get married at the Centos Center. Halftime or pregame of a Xavier UC crosstown shootout. Tell the truth.
No, I would not. I would not. Now the funny thing that Lizzie has asked me before is, would I do a proposal at a basketball game? The answer to that is also no. But it would be funny. I'm not denying it would be funny, but I would not do that. I would not do that. There's got to be a line somewhere.
Casey,
the line is not Valentine's Day.
He's watching basketball on Valentine's Day.
What else would you do?
I wouldn't put it past you to propose or get married at halftime.
No doubt about it.
Now, would I have my reception at the Centos Center? Maybe.
No, I think you would definitely do it. I just think you're not being truthful here because you don't want to upset her on Valentine's Day because maybe she doesn't want to do it. But if she gave the green light, you would be all in.
I'd kick it around.
Okay. All right. Not too picky coming up, right?
Yep. Right now.
And I expect, Paul, a full preview tomorrow of the Muskies v. Marquette.
Yeah, huge game.
Tomorrow night.
We'll be talking about it.
Happy Valentine's Day to all. Thanks for being with us. Great being back with you today. Casey, thank you. Paul, thank you.
Absolutely.
Have a great day. All of you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Welcome into Not Too Picky. It is Tuesday, February 14th, 2023. Paul Fritchner, Reed Mouse, Casey McAllister. Reed, you giving me a look. What are you giving me a look for?
Happy Valentine's Day,
Hey,
Paul.
happy Valentine's Day to you. You got anything special going on? We've been talking about it. You got anything special going on?
No, we actually celebrated it last night. We did a little something. So actually, my sister, who I love dearly, she's coming up. She's moved back up from Florida. Her husband's still down there, so I plan on doing something with her tonight because she's going to be alone.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, cool. So we have college basketball on the slate tonight. It's a pretty good night tonight and tomorrow for college basketball. So we're going to go through it all. I have a list of picks here to give out. Casey is where do we stand, Casey? Because you and I are in a really rough spot right now.
Yeah.
I'm about back to zero.
Yeah, this month started off so hot for me. I was up like 40 units at the start of the month. I'm already back to 0 units.
Oh no!
I have lost a lot. 6 red days in a row. The Super Bowl really killed me for one.
The Bengals,
I put the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, and then the Super Bowl just killed me. That's the start of this red streak. Honestly, is the championship game.
Same.
So it's been a little rough, but I've got some stuff. I've been doing well with player props.
You have been doing well.
My issue is just I'm too spread out. So I'm going to condense it down. I'm just going to give out some props. I'm going to take a few NBA games, and that's it.
Did you guys see we got dogged by Fred himself?
Yeah, Fred came after us.
Fred.
What was going on there? This is Not Too Picky, presented by Betfred Sportsbook, by the way.
We put out our card every day, and last night was maybe our worst card yet. Maybe.
Well, we did have one guaranteed winner because you and I went against each other.
Absolutely. And yeah, Fred, I think every other bet lost.
Yeah, it was not a great night last night.
I think one of the bets, I think the under in the UNC game that we put in the parlay hit. But other than it was a bad night. And Betfred dogging us. You know what? It's a competition. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we are at odds.
They took our money last night.
Us against Fred himself.
So,
and you know what? We've been winning so much. It's about time that Fred got one. I mean, you got to let little brother win at some point.
The tough part for me, and this is where you run into it, and this is where we try to kind of be relatable here. We're not going to stand up here and preach to you about all our picks and everything like that. We'll give our picks out, and we look at it, especially with college basketball. But, hey, we're all in it together. We're all in this here with you. And the tough part for me to handle in the last 2 weeks, to where Casey and I have commiserated about this, is that honestly, my record in my picks has been pretty good. Like, I've been pretty happy with where I've been at the last 2 weeks. It's that I have picked my spots badly. And when I say badly, I mean really badly. Like, every once in a while, I try maybe once a week to go on, a couple units more than I normally would bet, just where I feel more confident.
Sure.
My confidence levels have been really shaky, and where I have gone on my whale plays have all been disastrous, and they have rendered me bankrupt.
So that's what we've done is in our card, we don't ever put out confidence levels. We don't put out like, hey, put 3 units here, put 4 units here, which maybe we should, but that's where you win, right? I mean, you've got it when you feel really confident.
Yep.
You got to take the shots. It's just you're playing blackjack for hours. If you play this,
it's one in, one out, you're going to lose.
Right, you're going to lose. You've got to take big shots when you feel right.
Yep.
And that's the game.
So here we go. Tonight we have a lot of college basketball. Tonight and tomorrow. Thursday we've had a lot of questions about the Daytona 500. That will come on Thursday. Mike is all jokes aside, Mike actually is a NASCAR guy. He worked in NASCAR for 15, 20 years.
Look at him.
Yeah, he's a big NASCAR guy, so he will bring that on Thursday. So all we have today and tomorrow is college basketball, although I'm sure Casey will probably have some sort of an NBA prop or something, some sort of a PRA to give here at the end of the show. Tonight, it is Georgetown first half day. Georgetown is plus 6.5 in the first half against Seton Hall. Georgetown first half has been an absolute moneymaker over the last month and a half or so. They start out the game strong. They do not close out the game strong. They're a feisty team that does not win games, but they come out of the gates swinging. Plus 6.5 on the Betfred Sportsbook in the first half tonight. Plus 11.5 for the game. Seton Hall, this is a game Seton Hall can't afford to lose if they even want to remotely stay in the bubble conversation. I don't think they are, but if they want to, they got to win this game. Plus 6.5 in the first half, though. We like it. Reed.
I was going to just throw out the appetizer for that one. I guess I like the under in that one. I normally, if you don't know, we put out an appetizer every day in the Discord, or at least I do. And it's just the first game of the day I make a first half bet just to get the palate ready. And I like the under for Georgetown Seton Hall in that first half. The other Big East game, that looks good.
Oh, the Big East tonight. I mean, I jokingly did the shtick on Tom's show for 2 hours, so if you've been listening to that, you got it. But there is a massive game in the Big East tonight. Creighton and Providence, it is a huge game for the Big East race. And the one thing to me, as somebody that follows college basketball as closely as I do, and especially the Big East as closely as I do with covering the league, I love the fact that we are getting a true Big East title race this year. Since realignment, only 2 teams have won the Big East. Xavier won it in 2018, and Providence won it in 2022 last year. Outside of that, Villanova has won it every year. And we constantly get into this thing in late January, early February, where we say, ooh, this team
is going to be a race.
This is going to be a race. But it's really always just Villanova. And maybe there's a team that could give Villanova a push, but it's always Villanova. Villanova is not a factor in the Big East title race this year. Not sure what they're going to be a factor in moving forward, especially with Cam Whitmore if he goes to the draft this year, which I think everybody's assuming he will. This is a true Big East title race, and it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know what to do with my hands, right? It's like, it's like I keep plugging all these things into the simulator, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't really know what to do with the Big East title race right now. I keep looking at the future odds. They keep changing by the day. The standings change by the day. It is a lot of fun right now in the Big East because Alabama has won the SEC. No team has actually clinched their conference yet, but Alabama has won the SEC.
Correct.
Houston has won the AAC. The Big 12 is right there with Kansas and Texas. Texas kind of has the inside edge, but after that loss to Texas Tech last night, Kansas now can get right back in there with a win tonight at Oklahoma State. I like the Cowboys in that game.
Ooh.
Sorry, Trace. I like the Cowboys in that game. They're probably I don't know what the line is right now. I got to go down and find it. They are plus 1.5.
Yeah, I was going to say it's 2.
Plus 1.5. Plus 105 on the money line. Kansas is up and down. What do we do with Kansas, Reed?
Kansas is a team. You want to talk about picking your spots badly. They are a finicky furnace. I mean, they go back and forth. And every time it seems like I'm betting on a Kansas game, I pick the wrong side. Every time I'm like, all right, Kansas is going to win this one. They lose. And then I'm like, all right, this is where they let down. Then they win by 20. So I'm almost done on Kansas, not because it's a bad team to bet, but because I just can't get it right.
No idea on Kansas. They beat Texas by 8, but they also lose to Kansas State at Kansas State. They lose to TCU by 23. You don't really know what to do with Kansas right now. It's funny looking at the bracket and thinking to yourself, all right, if you're a team like Xavier right now, projected as a 3 seed, and you look at these top 4 seeds, Alabama, Purdue, Houston, Kansas. It's wild that we sit here and talk, but if you're Xavier or if you're one of these 3 or 4 or 5 seeds right now, I would probably want the Big 12 champ. How wild is that for how good the Big 12 is this year? You probably, because Purdue, you don't want to deal with Zach Edey.
Right.
They're not invincible, but Zach Edey is good enough that you just don't want to deal with him if you don't have to. You don't want to play Houston, especially if you're Xavier. You don't want to play Houston. And we're talking about Xavier because this is Southwest Ohio's premier sports gambling show. And Xavier's probably only team around this area that's going to make the NCAA tournament.
Correct.
Dayton is not.
Dayton can win the A-10. They're not going to get in that large.
Dayton is not my pick to win the A-10 tournament, but they absolutely have the talent to. They are a mini Kansas where you just don't know what you're going to get night in and night out from Kansas.
Currently second in the A-10 behind VCU.
Yeah.
They could they are more talented than VCU. But we don't know if they're going to win.
Sirboy Wonder, Purdue is a first-round exit. If a 16 seed can somehow figure out a way, if you are telling me that right now,
if you tell me
Alcorn State could figure out a way to beat Zach Edey,
the University of Texas, Corpus Christi, they just absolutely swallow up Zach Edey, that'll be the greatest upset in sports.
Yes. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
In sports.
No doubt.
Not that they're an absolute whack, but there's just no way a 16 seed has an answer for a 7'4" center.
Well, and I do think that Northwestern kind of showed the blueprint on Sunday for how to beat Purdue because Indiana is a very good team. Indiana beating Purdue is not necessarily a massive shock. It's hard to go undefeated.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah. Northwestern kind of showed the blueprint because
Northwestern's not a bad squad.
Well, yeah, they're not. They're a top 50 team. And what they did was they were bringing different players from all over the court to double Zach Edey, and it wasn't the same player just sagging down from the wing every time. So he was having a hard time. Okay, where'd this player come from?
Right.
How do I pass out of it? Maybe that's the blueprint. Maybe just Purdue rolls through. I don't think that anybody is going to just roll through to the national championship, but if there is one team that could, Alabama. Alabama's my national champion pick right now. Okay, Oklahoma State tonight, plus 1.5 against Kansas. Georgetown, plus 6.5 against
the first half.
First half against Seton Hall.
What do you like in the other Big East game? Do you want to touch it? The total is 140.
So I took the over. Oh, is it 140? Because I had my pick of the day on Rebound Rundown last night was 141, over 141.
You can
think
get
this
it
game
on
will
even
be
money at Betfred for 140.
Okay, I think this game will be played in the 70s. I lean Providence in this game in a toss-up because I think Providence is 34-1 or 35-1 in their last 36 home games.
Yeah, they are just a different team at home.
They
truly are.
Just don't lose at home.
It's incredible. But they stumbled last week. Creighton's playing the best that a Big East team has played, besides maybe UConn before Big East play. And I mean, if you're only going to give me -1, I'm going to take the Blue Jays, I think, tonight. So I think we're going to be on opposite sides again.
Creighton, yeah, I don't feel confident enough in picking Providence on a side, which is why I picked the total. If you look at how these teams have played since Creighton's last loss was against Xavier on January 11th. Since that day, Creighton, number 3 team in the country behind Alabama and Purdue.
They're great.
They are fantastic.
They're playing like the Big East preseason favorite.
They are playing exactly like they were picked to play before the season, and they look like they can win the Big East. So, and they very well might win the Big East here.
What about I like Villanova in the later Big East game. They are almost double-digit favorites against Butler.
Butler is so bad.
And I owe Butler some money because I bet Xavier last Friday like a dummy.
Now, Villanova did lose to Butler at Hinkle by 8, but Hinkle has been a house of horrors for Villanova over the years. Butler, for whatever reason, has Villanova's number at Hinkle. So don't read too much into the Butler-Villanova story from Hinkle Fieldhouse back on January 13th. This is a game that Ken Pom only has Villanova winning by 7. I'm not sold on Villanova right now at all. They haven't really shown me anything that gives me any kind of hope that they can run away with a game. Butler looked fantastic on Friday night, but they also played their best game of the year. Can they do that in back-to-back games? I don't have any confidence in them to do that. Villanova double digits, though, is tough for this Villanova team. What do we think? Are you looking at the...
Yeah, most of the money's on Butler.
Okay. All right.
I like Auburn. The under. The Auburn, Missouri under. 150. That's a big
number.
Total. Big total
number
for those two teams. And those two teams can come out and fire. I've watched them both a lot. They have some firepower, but it doesn't always show up. 150's a lot. I like the under.
I like the under in that. AJ points out a great pick. Michigan plus money on the money line tonight against Wisconsin. Wisconsin is just tough to watch.
Both those teams are tough to watch at times, man.
They are.
Both those teams are not fun teams to watch.
Yeah, they're not good. I like that Michigan money line pick. Seth Pryor, imagine Kentucky versus North Carolina playing each other in Dayton. There is a very realistic world where that happens. I don't know how realistic anymore now that
Tickets will be so expensive.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine? North Carolina does not have a quad 1 win. They are not going to make the tournament as of right now. They can get into the tournament, similar to my Ohio State thought from Thursday. They have the wins in front of them to make the tournament, but they're not going to make it the way they're playing. Same with Ohio State. Ohio State's completely played their way out of the tournament. Ohio State is irrelevant right now in the tournament sense, which is unbelievable to say given they were the 21st ranked team on Ken Pom about a month ago.
Paul, I got to give you credit. You've been doing this show for 6 months now, 5 months now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not too picky. The best gambling advice you've ever given was actually on the Rebound Rundown like a week ago when you said, I'm just going to continue to fade Ohio State until they prove me wrong.
They have lost 11 of 12, and they've not covered an 11 of 12.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Most of those games that they've lost of the 11 of 12, they've been favorites.
Yeah.
So you could just take the other team's money line and just be collecting a heck of a bankroll, which is what I've done for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's similar to the UCLA under. It just, until it proves me wrong over time, I'm going to keep riding.
They have been favored in almost every one of those 12 games. It's just unbelievable. They just have no... It makes me think that something happened behind the scenes. I know that Zed Key has been hurt. I get that. They've dealt with injuries. They dealt with other stuff. Something had to have happened, fractured the locker room. I don't know what it is. You don't go from being a team that was projected to be as good as Ohio State was, with a coach that in my mind is as good as Chris Holtmann is, to being as absolutely dreadful as they have been in the last month and a half. They are terrible.
Bad.
Emperor Starscream wants to know about Michigan State. Michigan State, it's a Michigan State team with Tom Izzo this year that's sitting at 16-9. They're middle of the pack, right? They're 30th in Ken Palm. They got a decent team. They're 2-2 in their last 4 games. They're 8-6 in the Big Ten. They have that win over Rutgers. They also have that loss to Notre Dame. Outside of the Notre Dame loss, they don't really have any bad losses. They're just kind of They're just kind of
Right. I agree.
They're just
The worst basketball game I've seen all year was Michigan State. I don't know if you remember that, like 3 weeks ago. That's why my perception of Michigan is so bad, because I watched that game and it was like a final 40-38 or something.
It was not. That was
It was on a Saturday.
That was. So it was a little higher scoring than that, but yes, it was ugly. It did it. Yeah. I remember that game. There were some points at the end. 59-53 was the final score of that game, but that game was 47-37 with 6 minutes left. So yes, you're right. There were some points in the end, but yes, it was an ugly game. If anybody has any questions or anything, Georgia minus 4.5 at home versus a bad LSU team. I worry about Georgia in a spot like this coming off a big win over Kentucky. And you can say, oh, well, Kentucky's not that good. That's a big win for a program like Georgia. Like Mike White, I get it. He's coming from Florida. He's in his first year. That's a good win at home for Georgia. LSU is terrible. LSU has not won a game since December 28th. Ken Palm has Georgia by 5 in this game. This is at Georgia. LSU has lost the last... let's see here. They've lost every game in that streak by double digits except the Kentucky game. So they have lost 10 in a row by double digits or something like that. So if you're following that trend, Georgia minus 4.5. Anything else on your end for tonight? I'm looking around at some of these other
ones. I've got my picks in. I liked Creighton.
Yep.
I liked the Auburn Missouri under, and I'm going to sprinkle Villanova to win by double digits.
Okay. Casey.
I know you got a prop.
I am going to go with.
No one's hotter than Casey right now, by the way.
I'm going to go with Brooke Lopez.
Oh.
From Milwaukee. They're playing the Celtics tonight, and the Celtics are going to do everything they can to stop Giannis, which is going to give Brooke some shots. So give me Brooke Lopez. It's 13 plus on Betfred, and it's at minus 115, so that's pretty good. I like that. I like those odds.
I like those.
Okay.
And he's 6 of 10 in the last 10 games above 13 points. So
okay,
gotta love that too.
All right, Case. Heard it here. Paul, got anything else?
No, I really like that Creighton and Providence over. I know that sometimes Providence may,
slow it down.
They can kind of grind you down. And Creighton's the same way, and I talked about this last night on a show. Creighton, and Rick mentioned this too. Creighton is a team that can win in the hundreds or can win in the 50s, and that's why they're very dangerous. So I do think that this game at Providence, it gets up there in scoring, maybe in the mid-70s, and that's where I like it. I think that game's played in the 70s. I like your Creighton pick. The only reason I'm not going to a side on that game is because Providence is so good at home.
Right.
If you were to put a gun to my head to pick a side, I would want to pick Creighton, but Providence is just unbeatable at home. So I'm just going to stay away from it on picking it. But it's going to be a good game. And it's a game that Creighton really needs to win to solidify. Creighton wins this game, they really give themselves an edge in the Big East title race. They know that. Greg McDermott's a great coach. He knows that. It's a game I would expect Creighton to be fully prepared for and probably win. But if you're a Xavier fan or a Friar fan, it's a big one. And then the Friars aren't out of the Big East title race either, but they're probably fourth on the pecking order.
Yep.
All right. That has been Not Too Picky. Hopefully we got some college basketball. There's a lot of great games tonight just overall to keep an eye on. Great games tonight. Pretty good games tomorrow night, too. Tomorrow night, Alabama, Tennessee tomorrow night. Trace is all over Tennessee in that game, I think. That's probably going to be about a 2-point spread when it comes out. That is going to be in Knoxville. That's a huge rebound spot for Tennessee coming off of the loss over the week. 2 straight buzzer-beating losses. Yep. Arkansas, Texas A&M tomorrow night. Indiana, Northwestern tomorrow night. That is in Evanston at Walsh-Ryan Arena. TCU, Iowa State, and then, of course, the one that's that we're going to talk about here in the Cincinnati area, Xavier and Marquette. Big one for the Big East title race. Kentucky, Mississippi State tomorrow night too. Kentucky's got to win that game to stay in the NCAA tournament conversation. This has been Not Too Picky, the college basketball version, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. We'll see you on Thursday with Daytona 500 and everything else. See you, everybody.